Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Salud.
What you sipping on?
I got a tab.
Uh, cool.
Yep.
Tab is good.
Yep.
No, I was watching this. I was watching that one show on AMC. I think it's called Dark Winds or something. It was about it was about a Navajo police officer. He's a police officer, but he's on a Navajo reservation, and
Mm-hmm.
he drank RCs. And I'm thinking, is RC
Yeah.
Cola still a thing? I
Oh,
guess back in the
sure.
'70s it was, but yeah.
Sure. And it's
Um,
very, very popular, mostly in rural areas, surprisingly. When I was growing up, I think I've told this story on my channel, but during the summers, I used to go out to visit family in Ohio. My uncle owned a marina on a lake out there, and he sold mostly RC cola products. So that's what I drank during the summer was RC. I liked it fine.
yeah. No, okay. I mean, I would drink an RC now. I mean, I'm not as a Coke much of a Coke fanatic as I once was. But I used to be only Coca-Cola. But no, I
Coke's a
do
hell
love
of a drug.
Ah. Good evening, Aged Boomer. Troy Pacelli. Hope things
Yep.
are better for you, Boomer. My folks are dealing with COVID. I'm sorry to hear that, Arthur Dread. I hope they recover quickly and well. Okay, I'm sorry to
Honestly,
hear
I
that.
think we're going to be hearing that a lot more these days. I think you're going to be saying, yep, family's down with COVID. It's going to be just like saying, yep, family's down with the flu or whatever. It's
I'm
pretty
telling
much
you, man.
what's happening.
I've often argued. I feel I've gotten a taste of some of the. I got a bad feeling about the new year. I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe not. Let's not be negative.
Right.
I just worry. I worry about Europe and that energy crisis they say is going to hit them hard in the winter. I mean, we're going to get it bad, but they're going to get it worse, I think. And just,
Yep. Yep.
but
Yep.
yeah, but no, I'm doing better. It's one day at a time. It's a long, long journey, but we'll get there. Just, I got all my stuff in storage right now, so I finally cleared out my stuff. Got it in all packed up into storage. So that's good.
How
So
long do you think before you can move back into the house proper?
I don't know because for charters, it's also about getting the contractors to work on it, and everybody else is needing the contractors. There's probably going to be a
Hmm.
contractor in Florida right now. I would say that much, but
Yeah, I would imagine, right?
right now we're working on getting other temporary housing. We've been working on that. Hopefully, when this temporary place is done, we get to go somewhere else, and then hopefully the house doesn't take so long. But again, I can't tell you how long it's going to take because I don't know how bad the damage is, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, the experts said it could be saved though, so it's not like it's a doomed house. But
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot of work. Tile is good. Carpet is bad when you live in flood areas.
This is the kind of thing that I meant last week when I said, "What did you learn?"
To be fair, I have to give my parents points. They did tile a lot of the house, but there were still a couple bedrooms with carpet in them, and they were the ones that were a big pain to deal with. But no, they did carpet. They did remove carpet a while back, but they didn't do it for the whole house, But let's say
Yeah.
hi to the chat though. Matanui, welcome. Good to see you. Horizon Talker and Hamada. Yeah, he's out of there. We'll be talking about
Yes,
that in
he
a little bit.
is.
Daniel Heron, greetings, Geeky Geek. Welcome, Daniel. I will be on the Wednesday stream, long overdue, but like I said, I had other things to deal with, but I will be on with him, and I believe Big Al will be on with us. We're going to be covering Steven Spielberg's The War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds is a great one for Halloween. If you think back to the Orson Welles Mercury Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
Troy or I were live when that aired. No, we're not.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, yeah. But actually, that was the cool thing about Buckaroo Banzai. Didn't that treat that news report as if it really happened?
Right.
Yeah, I remember that the radio show. But I saw Black Adam yesterday, and it was good. Yeah, we're gonna be talking a bit about that later. I'm trying to get a gauge on it because, of course, a lot of the critics on sites are bashing it. But for all I know, they're bashing it just because they don't like Zaslav or they're Disney shills. I don't know, or maybe they just didn't like the movie. That's also possible.
I also am
I don't know.
challenging anyone that says anything is good these days. Is it really good or is it good by comparison to what we've been seeing lately?
Your
I
boy
mean,
Zach had a wonderful video up, I think, today, and he was saying is anyone going to remember this decade or want to revisit this decade?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
people are
I mean,
eating
was it good like the original Superman the motion picture? Was it good like the original Star Wars? Or was it it was good like that movie that I can't remember the name of that I saw and I enjoyed and I remember, going with my wife to see it.
Hey, it was better than Birds of Prey.
That's what I mean. If that's your standard for good, that's not saying much.
I don't know. I have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Netter's Network, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, sweetie. That's always nice.
Yeah.
Black Adam was pretty good. See, people seem to like it. I mean, Dwayne Johnson is a screen presence. I'll say that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, he knows how to talk to the fans too. He's been saying on social media and stuff, I'm just glad that the fans are enjoying it. At the end of the day, that's all I care about, blah, 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 which is the exact opposite of what so many other celebrities do.
Oh, I'm going to talk a bit about Adam Sessler later when we get to G4.
Good.
I don't really want to spend a ton of time on him because it's like, goodbye.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say to him.
Yeah.
He had a Twitter meltdown.
Yes, recently. He did. I got in on it too.
I didn't. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
D Pensec, welcome. Glad you're here. Age Boomer, glad to be here. Okay. But Zootopia, if I didn't say hi, welcome. And Joshua V. And Deleted Scenes, always good to see you. Hey, Law, we'll jump in the chat later on. Well, we'll be happy to see you when you get here. So tonight we're going to talk about the good old days like we usually do, but I guess I'm going to have to frontline this.
Yeah, you are.
Because I have to explain to Troy what the phenomenon, I get those words confused, phenomenon.
Do.
Okay. More like now my channel just got flagged. Now Nintendo's going to take me down. I'm sorry.
Right.
Anyway, Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about Super Mario Brothers. And
now I want to be able to say that I'm like old school Mario because I played Donkey Kong, but I don't know if that really counts.
No, it does. Donkey Kong was, if you go back further, Donkey Kong was the creation of Shigeru Miyamoto.
Right.
I think I could be wrong. I think they based the Mario character or the Jumpman character at the time in that game off of their Italian landlord, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's just a
makes sense. Yeah.
But Donkey Kong was a big deal, and that was when Mario is in that game. He's Mario the Carpenter in that game, but
right.
He changes professions later on. I believe he was a carpenter. Yeah.
And I feel like they imply that over time he became a plumber.
Yes. And Nintendo plays fast and loose with his history. In some versions he's from Brooklyn, New York, and other versions I guess he's from some other area outside the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't know. It's a lot of us old timers still see him as coming from Brooklyn.
I'll tell you, I can also excuse the whole carpenter plumber thing. He was just a general practitioner. He's a general contractor. So he probably did some plumbing. He probably did some carpentry work. I can buy that.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, of course, if we go on to Donkey Kong Jr., there's a great old Atari commercial which has Mario as the villain and poor Donkey Kong saying, "Help me save my papa." Basically,
right.
They recast it as Donkey Kong's an occasion. You're his son trying to save him. It's almost like Mario's the villain in that game.
I suppose from a certain point of view, that would be the case. Yeah.
I'm still not used to Mario's voice from Chris Pratt. I did have Troy watch the trailer for the new thing. I didn't think it was that bad. I was expecting it to be worse. It sounds sort of like Charles Martin. That's not quite, but it's But let's move on. In addition to being a plumber, also became a doctor. Yes, the Dr. Mario games. A cart driver, painter, soccer player. Yes. Baseball.
That's true.
Tennis.
Kind of a jack of all trades.
Golf. Okay, let's get into
Let's face it, though. I mean, you could say the same thing about Mickey Mouse. So, I mean,
Yes. Let's get into, after the Donkey Kong games, you had Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, okay? It's still kind of a platforming game, but it's single screen. You can play as Mario or his brother Luigi, and you're in these pipes, and you're having to get away from these creatures and such. Did you ever play that game that precedes Super Mario Brothers?
I get a little confused. Which is the one that's the side scroller where he jumps up and he goes down the pipe?
That is Super Mario Brothers, the sequel.
Okay, so
Mario Brothers
no, I
was
didn't.
more of a classic static screen game. Um, we were late adopters with the NES. I didn't get one until '89. Any experience I had with Super Mario Brothers was over a friend's house, and usually I would play Mario, die in 2 seconds, and then he would play on as Luigi for about a half hour. Okay, that's
Okay,
how, because you would take turns between the characters.
yeah.
Super Mario Brothers was a revolutionary NES game. I didn't realize it at the time. The NES did not launch with Super Mario Brothers. It was still dealing with a lot of those static screen games. I mean, it was much more advanced than, let's say, the old Atari 2600. But what Nintendo was able to do was they were able to come up with these mapping chips to use in the cartridges that would make them more advanced. So a lot of the prowess didn't so much come from the console, but from the actual cartridges that
Hmm.
the console used. And basically, what Super Mario Brothers could do was, instead of it being static screen, like a lot of old school arcade games were static screen, like your Pac-Man, like your Q*bert, and these are still great games, great classic
Hmm.
games. But with Super Mario Brothers, though, the screen would scroll when the character moved. There was one other game that came out around the same time, Ghosts and Goblins in the arcade. No one's sure who, if it was Nintendo or Capcom, that created the side scroller, because they both came out roughly at the same time. But they both basically, you could move the character from left to right, and the screen would keep going. And you could beat a
Yeah.
level and then go to the next level. And this was revolutionary. I didn't realize this at the time when I was playing at my friend's house, but this really was a revolutionary a way of playing games. And you would go up, you'd have to fight Bowser at the end of the fourth stage, and you could either hit him with your fireballs, or you could jump on the little thing that would let the bridge open up and he'd fall into the flames.
Right.
But then you'd have to fight him all over again after another four stages. But the whole idea of the game was you're supposed to rescue the Princess Toadstool from the evil Bowser. Okay, and Bowser's basically this dinosaur that can breathe fire. I
Which
guess
makes him a dragon.
he's not a dragon any more than Godzilla is a dragon, smart guy.
I don't see why he's not.
He is a dinosaur. He's
a
a
lot.
dinosaur in another plane. Anyway.
A giant lizard that breathes fire is a dragon.
Anyways, this was a very big deal on the NES. They eventually made it the pack-in game with the console, along with Duck Hunt. You may have seen Duck Hunt before, too, the game with the gun where you
I
shoot.
played it in the arcade. Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo. I remember my brother worked as a Nintendo demonstrator once, and I watched the demonstrator video, and the woman on it said, basically at Nintendo, we're just plain fun. That's how she described the company. And I think they're that way still to this day for the most part. They make fun games. And after Super Mario Brothers, we got Super Mario Brothers 2. Apparently people were massively disappointed with this one. Again, I was not an NES owner at the time when that came out, but in Japan, Super Mario Brothers 2 was basically like a much harder version of Super Mario Brothers 1. And when they were going to release Super Mario Brothers 2 over here, they decided to take a different game and reskin it as a Mario game, because they were worried that the Americans would want something different. They wouldn't feel like buying the same game again.
Mm-hmm.
People had mixed things. I thought King Koopa was a turtle, like hence the shell. Maybe he's a turtle. I always saw him as a dinosaur. Now I want to look this up. I've only been playing these games.
Well, is that the character from the trailer that I just watched? Because
Yes.
he struck me as a kind of a anthropomorphic turtle too. So
He's kind of a turtle. Like all his minions are turtles. I always saw him as a dinosaur. Okay, maybe he's a dinosaur.
maybe
I'm
he's kind of like Gamera.
Anyways, yeah, there you go. Anyway, it was around that time, though, the Super Mario Brothers cartoon came out. Do you remember that at all?
The witch again?
The Super Mario Brothers Super Show, the cartoon.
Oh, yep. Yes, I
They would have
did.
live action segments with Captain Lou Albano as
Yes, I do
Mario.
remember that.
And then they would do the cartoon about his adventures in the Mushroom Kingdom against King Koopa,
Right.
who we now know as Bowser. So, you got that cartoon. Mario Mini was all over the country. You had a Mario breakfast cereal along with
I remember that
cereal.
too.
Remember that? I remember that.
Yes, I do.
Super Mario Brothers 3 comes out. And by then I owned an NES, and I got some pretty cool games on the NES. I got the Batman video game that came out that was pretty awesome. I got Castlevania 2. I mean, the NES was really starting to pop in 1990, and that's when Super Mario Brothers 3 came out. And Nintendo actually released, Universal, I think, released a movie called The Wizard, right? And it was a movie about a kid going to a Nintendo tournament, kind of like a remake of Tommy. I guess I think the kid
Right.
might have been kind of autistic as well, but he was really good at video games or something. But
Did that feature the Nintendo glove thing?
it did.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Power glove. The bad guy, the bad kid, the bad bully kid had a power glove.
Right.
Everybody was in awe of the power glove. If you actually watch the I forgot what the name of that movie was, the one with Neil Patrick Harris that was on Netflix about the kid wanting the Nintendo, they totally ripped the power glove, tear it a new one in that movie, because they say it basically, we all learned that day that the power glove didn't work.
Yeah.
But it was,
everybody that I knew who had it said it looks cool, but I won't play with it because it's not that cool.
apparently it was the only way you could beat the Top Gun video game was with the power glove. Also,
I can't even imagine that.
Not a turtle, lizard, dinosaur, dragon, Koopa. They're their own thing. What?
Okay, if you want to be really, really specific.
Yeah, I see him as a dinosaur, and I'm taking that to my grave. Anyway, King of the Koopas. Anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, we get Super Mario Brothers 3 though is introduced in that movie. Super Mario Brothers 3 came out this year. I didn't own it, but I borrowed it from a friend in exchange for another one of my Nintendo games. Super Mario Brothers 3 was a revelation. It was just bigger, better, more advanced Super Mario Brothers. You got a map you could be on, and you could go to different levels, and you could find these things called warp whistles to make you zip away to later levels, because it didn't have a save feature on it. But you could find tricks to get to further levels out in case you wanted to skip ahead. Do you understand?
Right.
And it was an amazing game. You had to fight Bowser's children, and they all had different personalities. Like I think one was like one guy was based off of Iggy Pop, the other was based off Beethoven. There was a female Koopa, Bowser type character. It was funny, a lot of fun. You never played Super Mario Brothers 3, did you?
No, I didn't. And I got to be honest with you, I kind of resisted those early 3D graphics games.
This wasn't a 3D graphics game. This was a 2D side scroller. Like the
Oh,
original Mario
okay.
Brothers. It's on
Okay.
the NES here.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood where you were going. I guess I jumped ahead. My apologies.
Oh my goodness! I actually, we have to speak
Real quick though, I do have to call out. Deleted Scenes did point out that was the 8-bit Christmas that you were referring to.
8-bit Christmas. It's funny. It's not bad.
And Auditor Dread is saying, "Agent Boomer, what is a Goomba?"
You know something? That's the next Matt Walsh documentary, right?
What is a Goomba?
Oh man, okay.
He asks around, the city and gets all kinds of, grief about cultural appropriation and all that kind of stuff. Then he goes to Little Italy and they just answer the question for him. Is it okay for me to use the term Goomba? Yeah, I don't care. Go ahead.
Insulting Italian slur.
No, it's not at all. If you want, I can tell you what it really does mean in Italian culture.
What does it really mean?
Goomba is the phonetic spelling for the Sicilian, what do you call it? Slang term, kumpa, which is their way of saying the more proper compare, which is Godfather. So it literally would be your Goomba would be your godfather, and Kumad would be your godmother. Like literally Catholic, the person that, sponsored you when you were baptized.
Okay, well that makes sense now. Okay.
But then it takes on other slang uses in different, regions. So when you hear a guy talking about his kumad, he may not mean his godmother. He may mean
I watched
something else.
I watched Sopranos. I know some of these terms.
Okay.
Super Mario Brothers 3 was the greatest of all Mario games. There is an argument for Super Mario World, but Super Mario Brothers 3 reigns forever in my heart. It's many people's favorite NES game.
Yeah.
I would even include it in the top 10 NES games. Castlevania 3 is still my favorite NES game, but I get why people love Super Mario Brothers 3. It was a very advanced NES game. Holds up well today. You can play it today and enjoy it just as much as before. But yeah, let's move on. And there was also a Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon that appeared later on as well. And they had special guest stars Milli Vanilli in an episode. Princess Toadstool wanted
Oh
to
my
see Milli
god!
Vanilli. Is that dated?
Did someone else dub their voices or something?
I don't know. I would like to think they. That's another
I'm
good old
sorry.
Vanilli. Okay. And then, of course, there was Super Mario World, which was the pack-in for the Super Nintendo. I did initially buy the Super Nintendo for the latest Castlevania game, but I love Super Mario World. It is a great Super Mario Brothers game, and the point is that these were games that were just they were side-scrolling platformers, but they were also about exploring the levels, finding secrets and things like that in the levels.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog was a completely different animal that was more based on speed and not so much exploration in those levels. I mean, I love the Sonic games, don't get me wrong, but it's a different. That was Sega's answer to the Mario, but Mario was huge, though. I mean, and he's remained kind of huge ever since. I did eventually get Super Mario 64. That was the first 3D game. Now, I know you said you resisted those early 3D games.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Because honestly, and I think a lot of people nowadays, they think, because that's the standard, right? But the graphics are so much better than they were back then. And honestly, I was the type, and most of us at that age were like, I don't care so much about the graphics. As long as I can get the idea of what it is and the game is fun, don't care, And when they would try to push the envelope of graphics, you'd be like, okay, it's cool. I see what they're trying to do, but it actually kind of gets in the way of gameplay,
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo, they were fairly forward thinking. They came up with the analog stick for the 3D games about how you would move this weird stick ever so slightly and the character would slowly walk and then they'd speed up. But you're right, issues with the camera.
Right.
That was always a problem.
And sometimes you were really taxing the processor speed with those graphics. So if there was any kind of lag or anything because of the graphics, it's like, man, I should have made that jump, or oh, come on, if this hadn't lagged,
I don't know if that was a problem with Super Mario World, but a lot of the rare games on the N64, sometimes the frame rates would dip, and people complain about frame rate dips even to this day. That became a Super Mario 64, though, pretty revolutionary game. I do think it would be cool if Nintendo were to remake it, because I noticed recently with the Crash Bandicoot games from the PlayStation, the Spyro the Dragon games, they remade those in collections recently, where they made them in all in full HD and gave them a new coat of paint with new graphics. Yeah. They kept the gameplay the same, but like using the processing power and the graphical capabilities we have now.
I was going to say, nowadays with the processors we have, those old games would run smooth as butter.
Yeah, and to be fair, some of those old games have gotten ported on newer systems. Like even Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, they remade it on the 3DS. And of course, I know 3DS is not as powerful as modern hardware, but it's way more powerful than the N64,
Sure.
Portable. So, it would be cool if that would be a cool thing. Like if Nintendo starts up a new studio, like a new second-party studio under their company, they should have them remake some of those old 3D games and give them a new coat of paint. That would be neat. But
yeah.
Ironically, the camera is still one of the biggest difficulties 3D person games. Also, Nintendo always insists on a 60 FPS performance and no lag in their games, even in the 8-bit games. Maybe they did, but I'm thinking of Rare, but I could be wrong. I know people used to play Rare. Like I said, Mario 64 might have been all right, but Mario Odyssey has a nice Mushroom Kingdom level similar to Super Mario 64. Yeah, and we'll fast forward to now because the good old days keep going. Super Mario Odyssey is very neat because it's the new 3D Mario game, but you actually get to go around to other continents besides the Mushroom Kingdom, right? And it's funny, you go to one and it's basically the Mexican Day of the Dead, right? It's basically Mexico, and all the characters are wearing like the skull faces, like they do on the Day of the Dead. I thought that was neat. And in these levels, though, when you jump, you can actually jump into the wall, and it's almost like the thing I would describe it's like Egyptian hieroglyphics, except in Egyptian hieroglyphics, you're the old 8-bit Mario, and you're running around the wall, and you're doing like a mini Mario level. Then you jump back out into 3D. And
that's kind of cool.
It's neat how even now they have they still respect where Mario came from. They still, they still respect this. Of course, nowadays, Nintendo has come up with this thing called Super Mario Maker, where you can actually make your own 2D Mario level. And you can use the templates from any of the old games. Like you can make it look like Super Mario Brothers 3 or the original 8-bit Super Mario Brothers, or even Mario World, or even the new HD ones. You could make them, and it's like you get to build your own levels, and you get to download them from other people online as well. So
Sure.
it's neat. I mean, it's good for kids who want to just get into game development. But I'm kind of indifferent to the Mario movie, to be honest. Well, we'll get to that later, but I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I will say this: Nintendo. It's weird. They experiment with other games like Zelda. They'll change up all the time. Like they'll change the way the characters look and everything. But Mario, they tend to keep a very similar aesthetic. In recent years, like they don't change them too much. And maybe in some ways, it's good that it's like comfort food. You can always expect a new Mario game to play somewhere down the line, so it's neat. But
Yeah.
how about you? Have you ever had an interest in playing a Mario game? Maybe no. I don't know.
I'm people, I don't smoke. I'm a casual smoker. I'll smoke when there's other people around, right? I'm a casual gamer. I'll play, if I'm at someone's house and they want to play, and you know, I'll die right away, and they'll continue on for ever. Is it my turn again?
It never came to PC because Nintendo is very proprietary. Their games tend to show up on their platforms, and that's it, because they want you to buy their platforms.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was they did finally branch out into cell phone games. They did start allowing some cell phone games because I guess they figured they couldn't ignore that market forever. But I know that with Super Mario Brothers 3, it was interesting. I think the guy that created Doom, I think is his name, John Romero, the guy that created Doom, that team actually made a PC version of Super Mario Brothers 3, and they tried pitching it to Nintendo to get it released on PC, but they said no back in the day. That would have been neat, though, huh?
Yeah.
Turns out
that's just the thing. I'm not a console guy, so unless I'm at somebody's house who has the console, I'm not going to be playing the game.
And Nintendo's weird even with consoles, because that was the thing, though. Back in those days, PC and consoles were very different from one another. They were different gaming experiences. It's funny, there's this one guy I watch, Bithead 1000. He has a channel. He's like a stand-up comedian, but he talks about games. But he was talking about how he didn't get to own a PC growing up. He had consoles, but his dad was like a mechanic or a plumber or something. Like he didn't own, and he saw all these big box PC games, and like he saw stuff like Police Quest. And he was jealous. He wanted to play those games really badly, but they were on these very powerful PCs, much more powerful than a game console at the time. But
yeah.
But like I said, it's interesting how people make do with what they have. It's at that point, gaming on console became their own experience, and it really was Nintendo that kind of ushered in a new age, and Sega, of course, followed pretty closely behind. But turns out making a good Mario level is really hard. Yeah, I can imagine, but you can do it yourself, though. All this Mario talk makes me want to try and collect those 999 moons. Oh, that's right. That's in the new one. You collect moons. You know what's funny? I haven't beaten too many Mario games, but I beat Super Mario World back in the day, right? And I was all excited, and I beat the game. I didn't realize the years later that there was actually an extra Star World after you beat the game that you could play and actually go to all these neat, harder levels. And I never knew it existed.
Wow.
I need to go back and replay through it and get to that Star World again, But
yeah.
Anyway, I could talk on about Mario. There were Mario sports titles, like many Mario golf games. You like golf? You can play golf with Mario characters.
I mean, I played golf on the Wii.
Yeah. Without the Mario characters. I don't know what Nintendo was doing during the Wii era. Okay. You had Super Mario Galaxy there in that era, though. That was pretty neat. That was the big... All this talk, I didn't even talk about Yoshi. That'll be the next week, Good Old Days. We're going to just be doing Mario for the next 3 months, okay, on Good Old Days.
Okay. There we go.
But anyway, I think I rambled on enough, though. So you never had much experience with Mario, though, yourself, though. Is that right?
No, yeah, I was. I really enjoyed Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. and that kind of stuff, but that's about as far as I went with it.
To be fair, the Mario games, they took off from there. It started with Donkey Kong. That's like the Steamboat Willie,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then it goes on from there. And don't forget about Mario Kart Boomer. Yes, the racing game. Nintendo will always release a new Mario Kart for whatever console they have. It's basically a kart racing game where you get to really mess with the other characters on screen. You could play it 4-player locally. Now you can play them online with other players online, and it's basically a racing game, but it's goofy because you're on these little carts. And depending on who you play in the game, you get different abilities. And what was funny about I read an article on IGN many years ago talking about the worst video game villains, and one of the guys on the list was Yoshi.
Oh.
And they're like, Yoshi the dinosaur, what are you talking about? He's Mario's friend. Have you played Mario Kart? He's a villain.
Well, that makes him a terrible villain, right? Because he's the hero's friend.
It's so disturbing, like when you throw a shell at like Princess Peach and she screams and crashes and you're laughing at it. It's just we're sputtering out. And then there was Super Mario Strikers where you could play, this. It's like a soccer game from like the Mad Max world or something where you get to throw characters into electrified fences, and I would knock Princess Peach into an electrified fence. I'm sorry, I don't know.
I love you, sweetie, but I gotta win this game. Zap!
No, it's funny. That was done by one of the Scottish developers that works for Nintendo, I think, and because they it's not just Japanese; they got developers all over the world. I think it was a Scottish that made the soccer game. And I'm sorry, that was just funny that you could throw Princess Peach.
Kind of makes me wonder if Critical Drinker, that's what he did before he got into commentary.
Oh man, that's funny. But yeah, I don't know. We got a new Mario movie coming out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But that's the good old days of Mario. But like I said, if you like Mario, it isn't really the good old days because Nintendo actually has not really screwed Mario up too much. You can still go out and buy a new Nintendo console and play the latest Mario game, and you're not going to have to worry about him being deconstructed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would deconstruct Mario. Does someone put a plate of lasagna in front of him and says, "I'm on the Atkins diet plan now. Please keep that away from me." I mean,
he's such a screw up that Princess Peach has to rescue herself and then rescue him because she's the bestest ever.
Oh, you know what's funny? They did for the Nintendo DS. It was one of these weird offshoot Nintendo games. But they did a Super Princess Peach game where I guess you had to rescue Mario and Luigi.
Okay.
But they still got into trouble because Princess Peach would get her power from her emotional state.
Oh, God.
So people are still screaming about sexism.
Well, see, and that's the problem, right? It's like, well, forget this. I won't even do this. You wanted your representation. You don't like the representation you get, too bad. Screw you.
You should actually at some point just watch the intros to some of these later Mario games where it's basically Bowser kidnapping the princess and like Mario getting his butt handed to him and then she screams out, "Mario!" And that's how the game starts. It's just... Okay, well, speaking of female representation in media.
Well, and I was going to say, when we were talking graphics, and graphics are getting better and better all the time, right? Sure, yeah. And I just feel like, especially with the way CG in movies, the technology kind of parallels, right? You would think that both would be working together, and they kind of don't. And because they don't, you end up with a show like this, where you do computer graphics for She-Hulk, and she looks like a computer game, a bad computer game.
Oh man, yeah. I saw your private chat. We're gonna go with her first. Yeah, Peach could fill in parts of the map by crying until the map was flooded. That was hilarious. Oh, that was funny. I didn't realize you could do that in the game. Yeah. Okay, She-Hulk attorney at law. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Okay.
Let's just jump right into it. I dropped the title, I dropped the link, and let's go with it.
We made it bad on purpose. I think I saw a Melanie Mac video with that headline. It just...
that's as stupid as the Pee Wee Herman thing. I meant to do that. When you look stupid, and there's obviously no reason for it to have done that, Yeah.
Are you ever going to watch She-Hulk?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I have no interest. I mean, they really, if this was a different era, they would have done this. They would have done it well, and they would have used the Lady Demetresque, phenomenon from earlier in the year to capitalize on with She-Hulk. There'd even have been a reference there. But no, they didn't bother with that because male gaze bad, right?
Is that the chick from Resident Evil Village?
Yeah. The giant vampire chick. Yeah.
Yes, basically.
Got to be careful if you don't have safe search on your Google and you look up Lady Dimitrescu. There's some fetishes out there I had no idea existed.
This is where we are with that. I don't know if Capcom was intending to make that character a necessarily sex symbol. They probably saw her as a monster, but I think even when the Japanese aren't trying, they make better looking women than
Yep.
in our media. Like, remember the 90s when you used to have just Marvel swimsuit issues? Remember that? Remember the old days?
I had some of them. I thought they were awesome because they also had some of the best artists in the business at the time working on them, and it was different artists throughout the magazine. So you had and it was both guys and girls. I mean, man, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just a different era.
She-Hulk Season 2 gets disappointing update from Tatiana Maslany. Adrian Rousseau, they own the trolls by deliberately making a bad show for their fans. Brilliant. That's what it's sounding like, actually. I'm wondering about that.
And on a later article we're going to be talking about, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cost of driving the fans away, too.
She-Hulk Season 2 gets a disappointing update from star Tatiana Maslany, who indicates she doesn't think there to be plans for another chapter. I guess that's Screen Rants.
No shit, Sherlock.
Okay. She-Hulk Attorney at Law Season 1 finale was released this week, but star Tatiana Maslany is unsure to lead the Season 2. Created by Jessica Gao, She-Hulk Attorney at Law is the 8th television series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Maslany stars as Jennifer Walters, a.k.a. She-Hulk, alongside an ensemble cast that includes Jamelia Jamil, Ginger Gonzaga, Mark Ruffalo, Josh Segarra, Tim Roth, Benedict Wong, Griffin Matthews, Steve Coulter, and Charlie Cox. All 9 episodes of She-Hulk Attorney at Law are currently available to stream on Disney+. I have a question. This is considered the 8th television in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Are they still counting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as one of those shows? Or has that been tossed?
I have no idea, but to be honest with you, they can't afford to
Is the
spit
Agent
on
Carter
anything.
series also thrown under the bus, too?
I don't
They
know.
made back in the day. I don't know.
I don't know.
What is canon? Who cares? Okay, She-Hulk Attorney at Law is based on the character from Marvel Comics and follows Bruce Banner's Ruffalo, played by Ruffalo, cousin Jen, as she adjusts to her new life as the titular heroine. True to its comic book inspiration, the series is a comedy that often approaches She-Hulk's superhero story with an irreverent tone and uses She-Hulk's ability to break the fourth wall to address common MCU criticisms. This ability was central to She-Hulk Attorney at Law's final episode when, in a break from MCU's typical style, She-Hulk decides to abandon the massive final battle and breaks into Marvel Studios to confront Kevin, an AI referencing studio president Kevin Feige. Unfortunately, the AI doesn't seem very impressed by She-Hulk's creative problem solving, which may spell bad news for potential She-Hulk Attorney at Law Season 2. In a recent interview with Extra, Maslany addresses She-Hulk Attorney at Law's chances as Season 2 renewal. In a disappointing update, the She-Hulk actress reveals that she hasn't heard any talk about another season and that based on Kevin's words in Episode 9, she doesn't seem to be expecting any either. Check out Maslany's comments below. I mean, I don't think so yet. Kevin in the scene seems to be very dismissive of this idea, so if we're basing this off of the real Kevin, it doesn't seem likely, but he was also, I think, just trying to get rid of Jen because she was asking too many questions. I don't know. If I could be coy and have some little secret, I would do that, but I really don't. I don't know anything.
Yes, we know that. We know you don't know anything. You've made it very clear through your social media posts.
So,
yeah, I do think this is in keeping with the meta references of the show where they honestly aren't expecting to get a second season. And at least that shows some degree of self-awareness because this has not been a well-received show. And don't get me wrong, I don't stay in the echo chamber that people think that we do. You know, I get out and I ask other people that I fully expect to, have very different opinions than me. And I'm hearing a lot of, it really wasn't that good. The humor wasn't very funny. And the only people that I find have an interest in it are wine moms and Karens. Seriously.
Basically, you're asking people you may know, or people maybe me in line that you would consider part of the general audience, maybe the people that weren't the comic book people.
Even the general audience doesn't seem to like it. Like I said, it's only the type of, and it's mostly women, and it's just the ones that are all women power and man bad and anti-male gaze type.
It sure ain't me.
It sure ain't Netter.
Okay, because I don't know what Disney is doing with these shows. Now, I think people said the best of these was the Ms. Marvel show. Was that right?
Yeah, it definitely had the best fan reaction to it, yeah.
And I'm assuming if what that is the equivalent of being is like a tween show.
I guess, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Marvel attempted a tween show. It probably succeeded at that, and the actress seemed likable enough just from the clips.
Everything I've heard about it was, yeah, the actress and her presence on social media and whatnot, the basic story and whatnot, pretty unoffensive, which in and of itself is a positive these days.
Actually, a guy named Todd who is like Squirrel Girl, except a villain, would be hilarious, but I don't think they'll do that. You know what this is reminding me of? Who was the guy? Remember in Deadpool 2, he put out the ad for superheroes, right? And just some guy shows up who's an accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
And was his name Jerry or something? I don't know. And then
he ends up getting killed, but he's like a hero.
Horrible, and it's. Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm not big on Marvel, but if they were to use Deadpool to actually lampoon the Disney Marvel universe, that would be funny. If they would.
Well, and that's what they did when 20th Century Fox was separate, but now that ain't gonna happen.
Well, yeah, because I got the impression with 20th it was lampooning the X-Men universe of 20th Century Fox, but then they could just expand it out. Now, I mean, he made.
Well, think about it. 20th Century Fox had no problem lampooning the X-Men because the X-Men was pretty much over for them, and they knew it. And then they were poking at Disney too because they weren't part of Disney at the time. Now all bets are off.
Yeah, I think he says stop the hate face Thanos, because I think the actor who played Cable and that also played Thanos, right?
Right, exactly.
But they basically made Daredevil very easy. I don't think in the comics Matt and Jennifer ever got into a relationship. Yeah, it's just I heard a lot of people were not happy with his portrayal on She-Hulk.
Well, and
on that Netflix show to try.
In spite of being a comedy, one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have had is you had an awesome opportunity here. If you're going to do a legal show that takes place in the Marvel Universe, in a world where they had the Sokovia Accords, right? And you've got, great storylines for legal cases. All of these kinds of things have been done in the comics with Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters, and even Spider-Man suing the Daily Bugle. These are good stories that could be done well if you have a good legal reference, somebody who comes in and goes, yeah, that's not how the law works, but this would work really well. And, takes you through it, can make it very, very interesting. We just spent a year where LawTube became a huge thing because of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial.
Yeah.
And people became very interested in how these superheroes of the real world, right? Hollywood personalities battling in civil court, the way the law works and so forth. That's the kind of thing you want to capitalize in here. But they don't have that level of self-awareness. They knew what they wanted to do. They didn't care what was going on in the rest of the world. Heck, even the whole Doomcock insert is a complete misunderstanding of what and who Doomcock is and what and who the fans are. That's a huge disconnect.
I don't know. I just
And then, of course, there's the whole Kevin Feige thing where they're actually lampooning the boss. And he
Making him
was
a robot.
pissed about it.
Was
So
he?
if there's, oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, what's her name? Chow went in an interview and talked about it. Like, it was something really funny. And everyone who heard that interview was like, you did what, you dumbass?
Do you know what I find interesting about this? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had to do a lot of tiptoeing around the movies. They had to make sure they weren't contradicting the movies. They had to acknowledge movies while the movies would never acknowledge Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I feel like now these shows are now fully integrated into the movie verse, as opposed to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which could be dropped or added if you wanted it. And the shows aren't even taking the canon in the movie universe seriously, and they're playing fast and loose with that.
Especially when you say, I've got a whole drawer full of Infinity Stones. Doesn't mean anything. It's like,
And breaking the fourth wall, the whole idea is you're supposed to be treating this. I mean, I sort of treated the MCU as kind of another universe. So this is a possible another universe where you have superheroes, but it's taking place in real time. That's how I sort of looked at it when I was watching it on the screen, right? And now, how are you supposed to take that seriously when they have a fourth wall break where she busts out onto this Disney Plus app and just starts stuff?
And and the fans keep pointing out, well, during the John Byrne era, that's exactly what she did, and And yeah, Marvel has always had this affinity for, if you were doing comedy, breaking the fourth wall is a good thing, but you better get it right. They should have gotten like the writers from Deadpool, Deadpool to do it. They didn't, and they got what we got. So no, I honestly don't think it's Jessica Gao. If everyone comes up with a better storyline for your series than you have, especially fucked up. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh man.
So maybe you hadn't heard about it, but she said she went to Kevin Feige because she wanted to do this whole Kevin the Robot thing and wanted to wear a hat like him. And he's like, no, absolutely not. She says, this is important to me. Either we do this or I quit. And he says, well, it was nice working with you. So she went away, and somebody else told her, well, the way you do it is you work around it. It's a robot, so you put components on it that make it look like a hat, and, you'll be okay. But I'll tell you what, I've never seen a company where you can go to the boss and they say, okay, it was nice working with you, and you still have a job. So honestly, I think he's looking to get rid of her. If for no other reason, you guys all know what I think of Kevin Feige. I don't think he's the best leader. I don't think he knows what he's doing with this, but he's also got an ego. He's not going to take that shit. She's not coming back next season.
So, okay, we've had WandaVision, correct?
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Which you had issues with. And apparently there's no more Scarlet Witch anyway, if I'm going by what that last...
I guess, yeah.
Last Doctor Strange movie.
But they can always pluck her out of another universe anytime they want. There's no stakes anymore.
Okay. Anyway, okay. Then you had Falcon and Winter Soldier, which got kind of political and kind of preachy from what I'd heard. You had Loki. You had Hawkeye, the series, right? That was another one.
Yep.
Was that okay?
I didn't watch any of these. You got to understand, I have not been watching any of this crap. I don't care anymore.
I've heard from people I know, like even ones that were big on the Marvel Cinematic Universe that weren't the huge confidants, they're like, we can't keep up with all these shows. It's too much.
I pretty much checked out after Endgame. I didn't even care for Endgame, but I wanted to see it through to the end, and I was done. And I'm not going back.
Funny how Jessica Jones was a good show. People have a lot of nice things, are actually being a lot nicer to the Netflix shows.
The Netflix shows were great. I loved them all. Yeah. I even liked the karate one, the dragon. Yeah, No. Yeah. You're right. Iron Fist.
Yeah. What I thought was actually, I say this, people pick on Iron Fist season 1, but I thought it had a very good villain in that. That corporate guy that slept in the glass coffin because he was brought back to life by the hand. I thought he was actually rather creepy as a villain.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay. The best live action Marvel series is still Netflix's Daredevil. Yeah, I mean it's good. I was my favorite of those was Luke Cage, but Daredevil was very good. But
Somebody did a great little meme where they said, where they showed, this is what Daredevil used to be like, and it shows a little clip of the hallway fight,
yeah, him
which
fighting
was
all the
classic,
dudes.
right?
Yeah,
And this is what he's like now, and it shows the scene of him doing the walk of shame after sleeping with Jennifer.
you know that was to attack the Daredevil fans who've been waiting for Daredevil to show
Absolutely.
up back
Absolutely. And
in
what does
the
that mean?
MCU.
Again, another segment of fans that will not be watching the show anymore. And that's why you're not getting a second season.
Because I thought the most obvious
Congratulations.
thing to do would be if they do another Spider-Man movie to have it be a Daredevil Spider-Man team up. I think that would make a lot of sense. Get Charlie
You're
Cox in the Spider-Man
absolutely
movie with Tom
right.
Holland. That would be
Yep.
interesting. But Iron Fist had good support. I believe was wooden. Action scenes in Daredevil writing was clunky. I didn't watch season 2. I heard Iron Fist season 2 kind of was not as good. But I'm telling you, I think even the worst Netflix is still better than the best Disney at this
I
point.
agree. Exactly. His criticisms aren't wrong, but still better than the shit that we're getting from Disney.
And part of me has to wonder too. Do you think Disney Plus is to blame for a lot of this stuff? Because I've been noticing a trend with a lot of these streaming series is that I feel this is a long, padded out series that could have made a great 2-hour movie if they had just trimmed the fat. And I've heard
That
that
is
complaint with
that
things
is
like
definitely a
Obi-Wan, that could
problem.
have been his own movie. But yeah,
That is a problem across the board with Disney's streaming shows, whether it's Marvel or Star Wars or what have you. They stretch them out when they don't have enough story to do so, and the product suffers because of it, which is a huge problem with the streaming model to begin with. But there's also the element that they just don't care. They're just putting out content in quotes, you know.
I still think Endgame and No Way Home are good stopping points in the MCU. I'll say this:
Yeah.
I think No Way Home. Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? You get a nice Spider-Man reunion special. I mean, it might be the best ending we're going to get for the MCU with Spider-Man No Way Home compared to what we might be getting in the future. I don't know. Streaming
Agreed.
shows in general, at least an episode longer than they need to be. They're afraid of tackling multiple storylines in one season. Yeah, unless you're a CW show. Oh, but that's not a streaming show. Okay.
No, that's DC. But speaking of DC,
Oh, it's a DC Films boss Walter Mott has departed the studio as Warner Brothers Discovery finalizes exit the dish. Oh, you posted it. I should let
yep,
you. Are we gonna be? Oh, we're gonna be doing switch offs. Okay.
yeah, you just got to give me a heads up if we're going to
I'm
go
going
out
to
of
give you a
order.
heads up. Okay. After 15 years at Warner Brothers and 4 as president of DC Films, Walter Hamada has finally left the Burbank, California lot. Sources tell Deadline the exec is waiting for the senior Warner Brothers Discovery brass to finalize his exit payout. Hamada has run DC since 2018 and re-upped in January 2021 with a contract that was supposed to take him through 2023. All of this occurs as New Line CC movie Black Adam, on which Hamada is executive producer, is tracking to open a projected 135 million at the global box office this weekend, despite some harsh reviews. The writing has been on the wall for Hamada's DC exit for quite some time, and sources said he has packed up his office and hasn't been part of recent creative meetings. Hamada will be the 5th Warner Brothers motion picture studio executive to leave since David Zaslav took the reins of the newly merged Warner Brothers Discovery, following Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group Chairman Toby Emmerich, President of Production and Development Courtney Valenti, Motion Picture Group COO Carolyn Blackwood, and Animation Group EVP Allison Abate. We hear Hamada knew his days were numbered and that this would be the outcome even before he ever met Zaslav, who has been transparent in his desire to bring an exec like Marvel chief Kevin Feige to run DC across all mediums. Zaslav recently courted former Warner's development exec and Lego movie producer Dan Lin for the post, and former Fox chief Emma Watts has long loomed as a possible head. Hamada is not Feige. The low-key executive is said to not be a gifted talent smoozer, for instance. But this is not to discount his efforts since moving over from New Line. Among his accomplishments was creating crossover between DC films and the HBO Max streaming service. Hamada shepherded the Robert Pattinson movie during a COVID shoot, and the reboot grossed $771 million worldwide. That was a solid first outing for Reeves and Pattinson, and also became a highly watched movie on HBO Max in its 45-day theatrical run. A sequel is in the works. Hamada was also an executive producer and had his hands on two of DC's highest-grossing movies, James Wan's Aquaman and Todd Phillips' Joker, which won 2 Oscars and became the highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time. Hamada should not have have a difficult time moving on to another position as a producer or executive beyond setting a dysfunctional DC ship. When he came back in 2018, he had a good run before New Line. There he presided over a string of genre hits that included The Conjuring, Friday the 13th, The Final Destination, a resuscitation of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and the first installment of Stephen King's It that grossed more than $700 million on a $35 million budget. It sounds like he's pretty good as a horror producer, actually.
Yeah, and so maybe he should move on to a horror company. But he's been a clusterfuck as far as DC goes. So a couple things from that article that need to be broken down. We'll get to Black Adam in a moment, and, projections about that and whatnot. Yes, he is listed as executive producer because it was created and, the film was filmed while he was still the bigwig. So that's the way the contracts work. But what came out over the weekend is not what he originally wanted. There was a lot of cuts that were made, and some behind-the-scenes sources have been claiming, and this is just rumor, but there was a lot more, shall we say, contemporary political commentary in the storyline that's been removed. Some of which I actually think probably would have been pretty good, but maybe a little dicey, so maybe best to stay away from it. And so they were being a little safe with Black Adam. But it's crucial to understand that Black Adam is the first movie being released when he's no longer in charge over there. And Batgirl was also under his auspices, and that was canceled outright, even though it was completely finished and in the can. It was his
Batgirl. I need.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
If you just imagine that it's got to be as well, and look, this is also after a string of mediocrity at best is what's been going on over at DC, but he was also pushing for and this Hamada verse that he was pushing for, which isn't happening. Part of it was Batgirl. They were going to replace Superman and Batman, and they were just going to go through all the male characters and replace them. So Batman was being replaced with Batgirl. That's what that movie was all about. That's why that got axed. Superman was going to be replaced in Flashpoint with Supergirl from another universe. Okay, now that's not happening. That's one of the cuts and changes that are being removed. And now, if that Supergirl is happening, it's going to be happening somewhere else, and not as a replacement for Superman, as we'll be talking about with the next installment. So all of that Hamadaverse stuff that would have been, for lack of a better way of putting it, an all new, all different DC. Zaslav said, no, we're not done with Batman. We're not done with Superman. I think we need a change here.
I think they do, but I'm telling you, I mean, we'll get to it when we get to the Black Adam article, but I'm just saying, I don't know. They need to go back to the drawing board with a lot of this stuff. I mean, I think I was commenting to you privately about the idea of what I like to call a soft reboot.
Yeah. Or
Zaslav does not want to scrap the actors, and I guess a lot of the stuff set up in the Snyderverse, but maybe they could figure out a way to do a soft reboot where you choose to ignore the crap.
There's an industry term that Script Doctor and Call Me Chato and Midnight's Edge use, the pivot. Right. And the example that they used was after Star Trek the motion picture.
Yes. Oh, that's funny. They brought that up. I brought that up too. Yeah.
Yeah, they realized this it did well, but not as well as we wanted, and I think we need to go a different way. So they pivoted with Star Trek 2. There's no one that's going to say that Star Trek 2 didn't take place in continuity with Star Trek the motion picture. Okay? Just the fact that they changed uniforms doesn't mean anything. Uniforms changed, right? You know, they changed from the original series. So, okay, they changed uniforms, but they also changed the idea behind the story. A little bit more action, a little bit more drama, a little less ambiance, right? That's a soft pivot. And they could absolutely do that with DC. For all the problems I've had with Batfleck and, Murder of Steel and World War Wonder Woman, I can get past it if there's a very clear pivot with those characters to something that resembles the actual DC stories a bit more.
Probably.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the pivot probably could have started with Shazam. Because it does reference some of the other stuff, it doesn't do it concretely. You understand?
It absolutely that would have been a good place to do it.
It doesn't mention what's his name, Steppenwolf, attacking the Earth. It just you could tell it probably is the Cavill, Superman, and Batman that are in the Shazam verse, but they don't expressly talk about it. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I really do think that the intent was that they were going to do some sort of soft reboot, some sort of a canon change with Flashpoint, which may still happen. I don't know. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But if you go back and change, and say that there's been a change, but you still see Henry Cavill as Superman and so forth, you go, well, then what changed? Now, they could be smart and leave it really vague and allow the Snyder bots to say, well, nothing significantly changed. Everything I liked is still there. And purist fans can say, well, he didn't kill Zod, and he didn't destroy all of Metropolis. And he actually was a hero that people liked and cared about,
Yeah, it's just, and there wasn't the can you bleed part from Batman versus Superman.
Why did you say that name?
Do you know what was bizarre about Batman versus Superman? I actually watched the unrated version. I checked it out from the public library, so I didn't have to actually pay money for it. But the Blu-ray came with the unrated version, so I watched that version. Apparently, in the theatrical version, after Congress blows up, in the theatrical version, Superman just kind of flies off after reporters are coming to him, whereas in the unrated version, you see him actually trying to rescue people from the building and getting them out of there. And I'm thinking, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to cut out. Because if Superman is still rescuing people, even though they were going to kind of do a hearing on him and see, despite that, he still was going to save them, I think that says something about Superman. And I thought that was an important scene to have in there. But they didn't have that in the theatrical
version.
Well,
I also point out that, they already did this story in Superman 2, right? And when Superman saw any damage happening and people's lives being in danger, he left. And he was called a coward, right? He's a coward. He's a coward. Yes. And people realized only, and in fact, a lot of the people in Metropolis were like, where are you going, Superman? Well, I'm saving your lives, Well, they had to go to him.
Super villains. Yeah.
And where did they fight? Up at the North Pole where there ain't nobody who could die. Except the polar police, apparently.
That was the missing scene, right?
Right. Exactly.
There should be polar police.
I agree with you 100%. But their beat is actually getting smaller because of global warming. Actually, Horizon Talker makes a great idea here. Maybe they should. Oh no, I was farther on than that.
Okay, hold on. Maybe they should what? Okay.
Maybe they should let Critical Drinker kickstart a DC movie in conjunction with RIPA. That might be neat. Actually, I would prefer, to hell with that, Critical Drinker kickstarts a RIPA-verse film in conjunction with RIPA. That I could get behind. I do have a review coming up of ISOM #1 pretty soon, so watch for that.
Coming to Netflix soon, ISOM, the series. But Ripa didn't read the fine print, and they get Ryan Johnson. I'm kidding.
No, see, that's something I'm going to point out.
He will read the fine print. I'm joking.
Yeah, that was one of the things that he specifically states. I mean, he's already thinking about stuff like that because he's already said, I am going to make sure I maintain control of this and not make the mistakes that others have made in the past. And if anything ever does come of this, like in another media or whatever, I will make sure it stays true to the source material.
Man, Batman versus Superman made me so depressed. Why? Because
isn't that what you want from a Superman from a superhero movie? I mean, isn't
There was a Superman moment in Batman versus Superman when Superman's fighting Doomsday and he sees a missile, like he's fighting him like in the stratosphere, and he sees a missile coming to them. And I guess Superman figures that this can kill him, but he still drags Doomsday into the missile, even though it could kill him as well, because he knows he has to stop Doomsday. And that was kind of a Superman moment in that movie. That's
absolutely. That is
few and far between. Yeah, but it's just overall the movie. No. And then they kill him, and Batman's sad, and it's like you wanted to kill him the whole movie, and now you're sad that he's dead. It's just
exactly.
Remember when Superman used to be fun? I'm sorry.
I know. This is why I'm so thankful that there's younger audiences out there like Megan Lee over at the Noob Reviews that are just getting into this stuff now, and I can vicariously enjoy those characters again through them.
It's funny because I was telling you for the stream, I was watching the Your Boy Zach videos, and I was saying he's like, is anyone going to be nostalgic for the culture of now in like 20 years, 50 years? What do you think?
No, it's going to be a cautionary tale.
Yes.
If you're allowed to talk about it, because remember, we've had a lot of cautionary tales throughout history. A little thing happened in Germany, World War II, that apparently we're never allowed to draw comparisons to, so that we can allow it to happen again.
Especially if you're a rising star, on a hit TV show, and then it gets sabotaged for no reason, and now no one's watching your current shows, Disney. I'm just saying, but we'll get to that later. Okay.
I know.
Time for me to hit the hay. I know, it's my ASMR voice that's putting you to sleep. I'm kidding. No, anyway. Thank you for stopping by.
That's why he has me as a co-host. I can counteract that and get you to wake up.
All right. I've been low energy these days. A lot of work to do. But
I would imagine.
We'll cover the news, and let's go to Black Adam next.
But you know what you need to do in order to pump yourself up again? You just go outside and go Shazam!
I have to tell you. I'm telling you, I
say go outside because otherwise your house will get hit by lightning. Just what you need at this point.
How did that work in the comics if he was stayed indoors? Would it actually destroy like part of the building?
I actually don't remember from the comics, and in the TV show, the live action TV show is always outside. And I do know that in some of the more recent comics, he sometimes even used the Shazam lightning as a weapon. Like if he was being grabbed by someone and he yelled Shazam, blam, they'd both get hit by the lightning.
They used that with when he fought Superman on Justice League Unlimited. They had him do that.
Yeah, that came from the comics first.
He was screaming Shazam, Shazam, Shazam. That always kind of annoyed me. How they kept having Superman fighting Shazam, like it was the old rivalry, Captain Marvel versus Superman, because they were very similar.
Yeah, that's kind of the meta thing. We'll talk more about that.
I'm glad they've stopped doing that. Like when they did that wonderful DC short about Superman Shazam, the Return of Black Adam. That was actually very nice, where they were working together instead of fighting each other. It was a very nice little cartoon. But Variety.
But once again, we're talking about the animated universe being better than the live action universe.
Here we go. Black Adam draws negative reviews. Dwayne Johnson's DC film is repetitive and anti-entertaining. Okay. Now, to be fair, these are the online critics. These are not the fans. And for all I know, the online critics have an agenda. But we're going to read what they were saying.
We'll get into that, and we'll talk about what the actual numbers are for the audience scores as of right now.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe may be about to change with Black Adam, but new film is landing low on the hierarchy of critical reputation at Warner Brothers' last decade of superhero entries, with reviews hitting for the Dwayne Johnson vehicle this afternoon. Black Adam currently stands at 32% approval rating from top critics on on the review aggregate website Rotten Tomatoes. Among the website's broader group of approved critics, it is at 54%. Should top critics numbers stands, it would mark the lowest such figure for a DC film since 2017's Justice League, which netted a 23% approval rating from top critics and was so reviled among fans that a reworked reversion was eventually ordered by Warner Brothers, arriving in the form of Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2021. In a somewhat favorable review for Variety, chief film critic Peter DeBrage conceded that the film's whole purpose is to give Black Adam a suitably grand introduction on the assumption that he'll be pitted against a more deserving adversary soon enough. Most others have been less receptive to the origin story, though. Many have highlighted Johnson's performance as a key strength. Black Adam marks the star's first time anchoring a superhero film, a job that the actor's chiseled physique and commercial dominance would suggest was inevitable. In a lightly positive review of The Guardian's Peter Bradshaw said that Johnson's massive bulk, planet-sized head, and sly gift for deadpan humor all make him a great superhero. Writing for The Hollywood Reporter, critic John DeFore discussed the star's long attachment to Black Adam, writing that his passion project serves the character well, setting him up for adventures one hopes would be less predictable than this one. In his IGN review, Joshua Yale gave top marks to Johnson for making his Black Adam just as steely and imposing as in the comics, but he criticized the film for being packed with undeveloped characters and an excessive number of repetitive action scenes, to the point where its half-baked debate on what it means to be a hero is lost in all the noise. Rolling Stone senior editor and film critic David Fear wrote that not even the pleasure of watching Johnson enter into a blockbuster template he seemed destined to dominate can make up for how generic, flavorless, and incoherent this is. At the wrap, Alonso Duralde called the film quote-unquote anti-entertaining and deemed it one of the most visually confounding of the major studio superhero sagas, between CG that's assaultively unappealing and rapid-fire editing that sucks the exhilaration right out of every fight scene. Yikes. Okay. Audiences seem to be playing the exact opposite, at least from what I've seen. So what are your thoughts so far, Troy?
Well,
I have thoughts on these critics.
First, I just dropped Big Al's review of it, so everyone find out what someone else in the community had to say about it. And I'm probably, you're giving me the first word, so I'm going to take it, but I'm afraid that I'm probably going to say kind of some of what you're thinking. And that's that, I think that these reviewers clearly had an agenda with this. They were more bothered by the fact that it wasn't more political. There wasn't more woke crap in there. And they're judging it harshly because of it. They see it as a pivot away from, I'm not even going to say a pivot away from the Snyderverse. I'm going to say a pivot away from what the media considers to be the standard the status quo
for superhero movies.
Yeah, for superhero movies, and that bothers them. As of this moment right now, it's actually gotten up to 40% for professional reviewers. That's out of 214 reviews. And as we always say when we look at these reviews, what the professional class of reviewers says and what the viewers say are, they're both valuable, but you have to keep them in their context and interpret them accordingly.
Well, I have another theory too. If I'm getting away from even them thinking of political, I think they don't like superhero movies, and I think they shy away from criticizing the Disney movies more because maybe because Disney's more of a PC company. Yeah,
the woke stuff that Disney puts in gives them cover.
But now they can go to town on DC, and they're probably not fans of Zaslav in general. I would expect.
I would imagine you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But for some reason, some of them, weren't liking.
They're
Shane
also
Pickett.
smarting over the fact that Batgirl got canceled. Hamada is out. The other things all these things that we talk about here, folks, it all interconnects.
So I don't know if the movie is any good or not.
Hope we're not keeping you awake there, Boomer.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't care. It's your channel.
Well, if he's bored, why am I listening?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I mean. He's the smooth, mellow voice with the get you ready for bed. And I get all fired up and I'm talking in a loud voice.
Anyways.
And Netta gets mad at me because I'm hurting her ears.
Anyways, so I have a question though. This is my big question though. Is Black Adam considered a villain in this movie?
It really sounds like he is, yeah.
Because it would. I'm telling you, if the movie was, we have this weird anti-hero type character. Okay, he's a little edgy, but he's still on the good side. Then you realize within the movie, now he's just really a villain, and then maybe Superman gets called in to stop him. That's an interesting setup.
Well,
and I might be down with that if that's what it was about, but I don't know.
We're getting to that in the next segment, but before we get there, I do want to point out that the other side of this coin that the article doesn't cover, because this article actually came out before the release of the film. This was when it was just professional reviewers. The audience score at this well, you know what? Let me refresh my screen. Just, nope, no change there. 90% fresh from the audience. That's pretty big. I have to say, and I don't want to, spoil the review from Big Al, but just to give you the in a nutshell of it, he liked it fine. He enjoyed it, but he didn't give it like big marks, And this is what I was saying too. I'm sorry. I don't remember who it was who said this earlier in the chat. It was good. Okay. Yeah, it was good. By comparison to what though? Compared to, some of the other crap we've been getting lately? Or is it good like on the par of the first Superman movie or the 1989 Batman movie or Star Wars or something like that? No, I would say probably not, but the audience liked it fine. They were positive enough about it. I mean, I don't really know how the rating system works on Rotten Tomatoes. Is it like you give it better than 50% and it's considered positive? If it's less than 50%, you give it a negative? And so if 90% of the people gave it more than a 50%, rating, well, okay, good. That's nice. I don't think that means that the average score was 90%.
Okay.
But either way, I guess bottom line is reviewers didn't like it. Viewers liked it. But then we come to the most recent video on this from the source for numbers. Really, if you're gonna look into numbers, you got to go to Valiant Renegade. He breaks down the numbers in the most unbiased, can't argue with it kind of way, and he points out what the box office was for it this weekend. And if I remember correctly, because I'm going off the top of my head here, I want to say with the international box office, it was something like 140 million, which is good, but by the numbers, not that good, because it really needs to at least hit that break-even number on the first week, and it hasn't come close to that yet. And it's probably going to need to be about $500 million by the time it's done in theaters. And it's very unlikely to do that because from here, unless it gets great word of mouth, unless this 90% audience score means a lot and all the fans are out there going, it's awesome, it's great, it's the best thing ever, you got to go see it in the theater. And that's the other thing. It's day and date, so you don't have to go see it in the theater. Right? You can see it on whatever it is. Is it Hulu? I don't know what channel it is that the streaming service is.
Black Adam?
Yeah, no, it's not Hulu. It's Roku.
It would be HBO Max.
HBO Max? Is that what's playing it? Okay, yeah.
Well, that's what it would be on if it wasn't in the theater. Because it's a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah, is it not on the streaming service too?
No, they're not doing day and date anymore. They
Oh,
stopped
okay.
doing that.
Good, good,
Killer got
good.
fired over that. Remember, he was
That's true. He did. Okay,
left.
well, great. But that's even worse than that. Means 100% of the dollars were in the theater, and it
Yes.
hasn't broken even in its opening weekend. And again, like I said, unless it's got the oh my gosh, this was the bestest thing ever, and you know, you listen to Big Al's review, and he's like, it's good. But nah, there was some problems with it and stuff. That's not the kind of thing that's going to give this film legs. It needs to be like Top Gun Maverick type legs if it's going to really pull in the profit here. You know.
Apparently, the mainstream reviewers are not getting flack with the typical gaslighting critiques on criticisms of just calling them bigots, phobes. Yeah, the usual bit.
Yeah.
And Matanui says, someone's expecting them to live up to Star Wars. Here's the thing when people, what Troy is meaning by that, does live up to the original Superman. Is it a movie that people are going to be talking about 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Right.
Look back to the 80s. Was Back to the Future the same as Star Wars? No, not exactly, but it's a memorable movie that people would watch over and over again.
And actually, I want to take a little bit of umbrage with Matanui here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is the standard you should be using. If you don't, you keep positively reinforcing mediocrity.
Well, like the original, like the first couple Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, I think of those as meeting that standard. Remember those?
Yeah, exactly.
And even a lot of the early Marvel movies. I mean, I still like even the Norton Incredible Hulk. I thought that was very good, but that was when they switched off for. I said some not nice things about the film score. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I think Top Gun Maverick has legs. Top Gun Maverick will be watched years from now. I think that will stick around.
I'm going to have to check out Daniel Heron's review because I can only imagine that right now anything DC is putting into a soundtrack is probably mediocre, just simple, pre-programmed disco music.
All right, you going to post the link for the next article?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know we were ready to move on.
Are we ready to pivot?
Are we ready to
It's only 10:21.
But this is actually still related, so let's definitely
get
that in there.
I'll start reading from what you posted.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
When it comes to trends of late post-credit scenes have doubled as huge casting announcements. Harry Styles, Charlize Theron, and Brett Goldstein all joined the MCU via credit scenes. But Warner Brothers' Black Adam has bucked the trend by using it to bring up a beloved superhero back. After being awakened from spoilers, by the way, after being awakened from a 5,000 year slumber, fighting against mercenaries battling the superheroes known as the Justice Society, not to be confused with the Justice League, and teaming up with those same superheroes to take down a demon lord, it's clear Black Adam is going to be a major player, a looming anti-hero in the DC universe. In the movie's sole credits scene, Black Adam encounters a drone from Amanda Waller. Waller, who is in charge of various superhero groups in the DC Extended Universe, including the Justice Society and the Suicide Squad, has clashed with Black Adam throughout the film, but now tells him that he's safe. She says she won't interfere with his business should he remain in the country of Kahndaq.
Kahndaq.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right on the Sinai Peninsula. I dropped a map of where it is in the DC universe in the MeWe group.
As the movie explains, is Black Adam's home where he received his powers, and according to myth, the place that Black Adam is sworn to protect. Okay. Black Adam thinks Walter's proposal is bull, but he's pretty much trashed Waller's Justice Society to bits, even though it's a 4-1 advantage, so they know there aren't many superheroes that can match Black Adam's power. He dares her to try and stop him. Waller responds with a final warning that she has allies from other planets to keep him in check, prompting Black Adam to destroy the drone via lightning bolt. This sets a big reveal. Descending from the sky is one of those beings that Waller promised. At first, all you see is shadow. Then when the light hits his face, he's revealed to be Superman, played by Henry Cavill. Superman tells Black Adam that they should have a conversation, and the scene concludes.
Yeah.
And if the scene is what we think it means, the return and continuation of Cavill as Superman teaming up or going to blows with Black Adam, the possibility of Cavill and Johnson wrestling in skin-tight suits, it's a monumental announcement. For the last 4 years, Cavill's future as the Man of Steel has been in doubt.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I can't remember if we touched on this last week, but I know that Netter and I talked about it a couple weeks back, and I had pointed out Netter didn't know this, but Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill have the same business manager, and Dwayne Johnson has been very much behind the whole, buddy teamwork with Henry Cavill to keep that Superman alive, and therefore by extension the Snyderverse thing. So a lot of this, what is it, Save the Snyderverse or whatever, that whole crowd, Dwayne Johnson's been a big part of that. And I suspect he probably had a lot to do with that Snyder cut getting released, and obviously pushing for this. And we even talked about an article, an interview where he said that this whole film was a lead up to Superman versus Black Adam. And I was like, that's a problem. That's like Batman versus Lex Luthor. Why? Black Adam is a Captain Marvel villain. Why is there no connection there? Well, it's because of something going on behind the scenes with Hollywood business, not with the development of these characters.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're going for here. Of course, I will say this. At the end of the original cut of Justice League, I don't know if this was in the Snyder cut, this was in the Whedon cut, Lex Luthor had escaped from prison or escaped from Arkham Asylum, and then he ends up on a yacht, and he's talking to Deathstroke the Terminator, saying, "Isn't it time we had a league of our own?" And I think the idea was he was going to set up like the Injustice League or the Legion of Doom, and that was going to be a future threat to the Justice League. And that could be an interesting idea if you had like Black Adam heading up like a Legion of Doom thing, where he starts working with supervillains to take out these heroes that he doesn't see as heroes, he sees as people getting in his way. I don't know if that's
what DC ended up doing with Black Adam in the comics is very much like what Doctor Doom was in Marvel Comics. He's a villain outside of his own country, but in his own country, he is the ruler and the hero. And I don't mean like, dictatorial evil. He's a hero because if we say otherwise, he'll kill us. No, he really cares about his people. His people are fanatically loyal to him. So he's a villain outside of that country.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. This is the last of the Hamada projects, right? Or no,
it is.
No, sorry.
Well, it's
Flash,
or the
Flash
first
of
the or the first of the non-Hamada projects, and really that's what it comes down to. What is happening with Flashpoint and the Flash? That's the next question, and it also happens to be the next article.
Okay, Ezra Miller appears in court. On burglary and larceny charges, faces 26 years of prison. That's pretty bad, and I have to think if it was anybody else except for a Hollywood celebrity, maybe this person would be in big trouble, but we'll see. Actor Ezra Miller has pleaded not guilty to accusations that they have burglarized a Vermont home.
Back to that again.
Vermont appeared in court on Monday to face a burglary charge on a petite larceny charge. The charges carry a possible jail time of up to 26 years if they are convicted. Ezra Miller pleaded not guilty on Monday to accusations that the burglars. Okay, I already read that. Miller appeared briefly in southwestern Vermont's Bennington Superior Court with their lawyer via a video link on Monday morning and pleaded not guilty to felony burglary and petite larceny. These charges carry a sentence of up to 26 years in prison if they are convicted. Miller was granted approval by Vermont Judge Carrie McDonald Cady to remain out of jail on the condition that they do not go near the home that prosecutors allege they burgled, and also that they inform their attorney of their address and phone number. When asked if they understand the conditions of release, Miller, who appeared calm throughout the arrangement, responded affirmatively. In a statement later shared with Insider, Miller's attorney reiterated that they pleaded not guilty to one count of burglary and another count of petty larceny. Miller's attorney, Lisa Shelkrot, said the actor accepted the court-imposed conditions of not contacting rented homes. Okay. Ezra would like to acknowledge the love and support they have received from their family and friends, who continue to be a vital presence in their ongoing mental health, Shelkrot said. The charges are related to a May 1st incident in the town of Starford, Vermont. Authorities accused Miller of breaking into a home on County Road and taking several bottles of alcohol from the residents, per a police press release. Now, I have a question for you. This not guilty. Is this not guilty by reason of insanity? Mental health issues? Is that what's being cited? Or is Ezra Miller saying that
that he didn't do it? No.
Yes.
He can't. My understanding is that there's some surveillance footage that puts him there. It definitely was him. He can't get a not guilty, in that regard. But it sounds like he put in a plea deal that was related to mental health. And from what I've heard from people that know more about the law than I do, which is just about anybody, he apparently this kind of a crime, although I suppose these are serious charges, but not so serious like, it wasn't a violent crime. It wasn't, it wasn't murder. It wasn't
theft, though.
Yes, but it
Breaking and
wasn't.
entering.
It is, but it wasn't grand theft and so forth. So they usually mitigate those kinds of, you could get the maximum, but they usually don't give the maximum unless there's something in there that's, and
community service, maybe that could be the result.
Yeah, he's probably going to get time served. He's probably going to get community service, and he's certainly open to a civil case. He's going to get sued, and he'll at least end up paying out, the cost of the liquor he stole, any damage he did to the house, and so forth. Now, there is another mitigating circumstance here that I don't know for certain. This is something I heard secondhand, so somebody in the chat correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, in quotes, breaking and entering, but I think this is a property he owned. So it was somebody renting from him, which could also alter it. It's still breaking and entering. It is still trespassing.
Violent crime choking of the Icelandic woman is sadly not one of the charges. Yeah,
exactly. Well, that is a completely different charge in another country. So, just like so much of the Amber Heard trial, certain things that happened in the British case have no bearing on the U.S. case, nor what happened in Australia. That's just the way it goes.
Okay, well, let's pivot to the next article, I think.
Yep.
Ezra Miller reportedly being replaced as the Flash no matter what. I've heard these rumors.
Yep.
What do you think? I mean, I'll read the article, but I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I can tell you up front because it's not I know the article and it's not that much different than what we've already heard. Regardless of what, and I think you and I even summed this up a while back. Regardless of what they do decide to do with Flashpoint, there will be no Ezra Miller in the DC universe going forward. They will recast the Flash. There is no doubt about it.
My theory behind the whole thing is I think Zaslav has to release this movie as is and just get it out, and hopefully the movie can break even, and then they can work on getting rid of Ezra Miller. But right now, they have to mitigate.
I will agree with you. I will agree with you only if the film as is pivots them into a DC universe that Zaslav and the powers that be over at Warner Brothers want for DC. If not, it may not even be worth releasing if they need to completely rework it. Yeah,
but they already did that with Batgirl. They can't keep doing that, right? Unless they're waiting for the new year. for tax reasons.
Well, actually, I had not considered that, Boomer, but that's an excellent point. That is an excellent point that I hadn't considered. The other thing is, what's better? Take a $100 million loss on one movie, or tank your whole IP. I mean, which this is the other point that I wanted to get to. You have 90% approval rating from viewers on Black Adam, and it's still not going to break even. That kind of tells me that not enough people give a shit anymore. And I even said the same thing on social media today. Everybody's posting all these posts about the Doctor's regeneration, and I'm sitting here going, I don't care, because I've walked away. I'm done with Doctor Who. I'm done with Star Trek. I'm done with Marvel. I never even started with DC after Man of Steel. You don't get my money anymore. There's nothing you're going to do without completely rebooting and starting over and maybe saying indirectly, we're sorry, we'll get back to canon now. That's ever going to bring me back. And I think there's a lot of fans that feel that way. So these valuable IPs that are worth billions and billions of dollars now aren't worth the paper that the check is written on.
It's what we call running your IP into the ground.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think now. I'm starting to think that what we predicted years ago is actually playing out. And I said, if it takes too long for these things to turn around, it'll be too late. Well, guess what? We're seeing it in real time right now. And let's talk about it with Ezra Miller.
All right, I'll read a bit from this. Okay, facing up to 26 years behind the bars doesn't help his chances, but no matter... I thought it was their chances. Well, people get correct. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Okay, facing up to 26 years behind bars doesn't help his chances, but no matter which way the jury or judge rules, troubled actor Ezra Miller is likely done altogether with Barry Allen as after The Flash reaches theaters. This is what Twitter user and scooper My Time to Shine Hello, among others, has been saying consistently based on inside information. The account's latest tweet on the matter claims Ezra is getting replaced post-Flash movie no matter what. It is just the way it is. A month ago, a tweet making a declaration along similar lines was sent by the scooper, which read, "Not sure if good news or bad news, that's up to you, but I hear Ezra Miller is done as the Flash no matter what happens, not coming back." Okay. These aren't claims coming out of nowhere or being made in a vacuum. They are presaged by frequent rumors and industry reports that Miller is too much of a headache for Warner Brothers to handle. Allegedly, after David Zaslav and Discovery took over, there was a shouting match at a board meeting where directors present wanted to shelve The Flash and figure out what to do about the Miller crisis. Scoop was first shared by Undercover Cine, who complained Zaslav got outvoted on Tuesday with regards to the Ezra situation. Majority of Warner Brothers Discovery Board wanted to indefinitely shelve The Flash, but Zaslav was against it, so he called in another meeting today, and sounds like there was a shouting match happening at Warner Brothers. YouTuber and film scooper Grace Randolph backed the claim, declaring, "I'm not sure how true this is."
I can stop you right there. As soon as you invoke the name Grace Randolph, nothing you say after that means anything.
Well, I'm just saying maybe on this point he's backing up the claim. Okay.
Yeah.
But I am hearing that indeed this is it, man, the moment of truth for the Flash developing story. Hopefully we get an answer revised in the face soon. Zaslav, however, reportedly likes the film and is a big believer that it can be a big win for the studio, so he nixed their proposal. He also is a reported to believer in the idea that Miller will seek help. The actor issued an apology, but it was taken as disingenuous when it looked like all Miller cared about was losing the role of Barry. YouTuber Orange Hat Reviews put it this way at the time of the apology was given. He doesn't care that he's been running amok for 2 years, menacing women across 4 different countries. But the second his movies threatened, time to buck up and make some apologies. A reputed insider who agrees with Grease told Deadline, "There is no winning in this for Warner Brothers. This is an inherited problem for Zaslav. The hope is the scandal will remain at low level before the movie is released, and hope for the best to turn out." Well, between Miller going to jail and The Flash at risk of flopping thanks to bad publicity, smooth sailing appears to be out of reach in this case. What's up?
I was just laughing at I first want to say hi to Joker Voice. Yes, you're late. You're probably going to want to back up and listen to the previous DC comments because that's kind of what I was encouraging you earlier that you'd want to hear about. But then he says, Grace Randolph. So I heard blah, 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 blah. Yep, pretty much.
It's funny. Matanui made a comment a little while back saying Ezra Miller's committed every crime in the book, and I'm thinking back to like the Dark Knight Rises, like not every crime or not everything, and I'm thinking I see Ezra Miller smiling, thinking that he's murdered somebody or something. Or
no, actually, I think it's more like it's like not every crime, and he's sitting there with a list checking off. Give me time.
I'm telling you, though,
I'm not done yet.
Okay, let's say we're taking this story as true, this rumored story.
Yeah.
Zaslav believes in the film, or maybe Zaslav is appearing to believe in the film because it wants to do well to recoup that money. I don't know. Or maybe he truly believes Miller can be reformed. I don't know.
I'm certain that's not it. I'm sure that what it is there's something in the script, something in the concept that he likes. Like I said, that he wants to pivot the DC universe to get it back on track, so to speak. And he can use Flashpoint to do that. The problem is, does it really set up what he wants? That's the first thing. Second thing, Ezra Miller is a problem, right? Third, or C, I forgot how I started this. What elements that have already been changed, like the whole Supergirl thing, the whole Batgirl thing, wouldn't work now with Flashpoint as it stands. Okay, there's a lot of problems that are, and now we have Black Adam that's just come out. If Flashpoint changes anything and it affects that, not to mention we got the 25 different Batmen out there. So, I mean, you know, Zaslav really does need to listen to the financial guys saying, we'll take the loss, move on. And if he has to, make a whole new Flashpoint. Use a whole different Flash. You can even use the same costume so everybody knows it's meant to be the same character that was in the previous movies, right?
So far, Ezra Miller has been in 2 of the DC movies. He's been in Justice League, both the original and Snyder Cut. I'll count that as 1. And he had a cameo in Batman versus Superman. Did you know, you didn't see Batman versus Superman? Do you know what the cameo I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Batman, there's a part in that movie where Batman has a premonition. The premonition is of Superman, I believe, working with parademons and doing bad stuff on Earth, okay? And I wondered if this was a premonition that he eventually Superman will one day go work for Darkseid or something. I don't know if that was what what's his name was setting up, Zack Snyder. And then the Flash appears out of some vortex and says something about Lois or something, or about saving Lois or something. And I think maybe it's one of these scenarios where Lois Lane got killed or something. And like,
they're probably playing off of the whole Injustice story, which also would be an explanation for the introduction of that particular version of Supergirl with the dark short hair and whatnot. But the whole story of Injustice is, you know, a possible future in the DC universe. And of course, that's the kind of thing that Zack Snyder would want to play around with after, you know, Superman, Batman, do you bleed, you know, snap the bad guy's neck, you know?
House of the Dragon or House of the Dead?
No, House of the Dragon, because he had mentioned earlier that he had just finished watching it.
I got you. I think of the House of the Dead movie made by Ubol back in the day. Anyway,
I don't know it. I'm going to have to look into it.
It's not good. Anyway,
I probably still should go look into it.
Yes, you are allowed to disagree with us on our channel. You won't get banned or anything. Okay.
Yes, and I specifically said I took umbrage with what you were saying, not with you personally. Right? Yeah. I had a disagreement with what you were saying, and that's perfectly okay.
Can I make a comment, though, to Matanui's point of view? I imagine Matanui's a bit younger than you and I, right?
almost everybody is younger than we
Well,
are,
I'm
so I'm going to
wondering.
assume.
I'm wondering though if you're of a younger generation, you feel that movies can't be held up to a standard of what movies in the past were held up to. That it's just not possible anymore. Whereas when you and I were growing
Yeah.
up, summer would get you would get these wonderful blockbusters and these big
Yeah.
effects things. Like let's face facts. I'm not. We had the Star Trek movies, like Star Trek 3. That was considered a summer blockbuster at the time. And is it
Right.
Star Wars? No, but it's being
Right.
at least the best sequel to Wrath of Khan. It probably could have been. I mean, it's
Yeah.
doing its best job. And the
And
trouble is we. Go
I
ahead.
think as you get older and gain a little wisdom, you start to realize that there is this concept. Well, I mean, on a worldwide political, social, level, there's this idea of defining deviancy down, but it's also the lowering of expectations, where you expect everything to be, at this level, but everything becomes more and more mediocre, and that becomes the new norm. And it's like a frog in a pot that over. Yeah. So Matanui is a bit younger than us. He's turning 30
next year.
Yeah. So
I remembered when I turned 29. And my cousin says, "Oh, you're entering your 30th year." And I said, "You stop saying that." Well, no, you're entering your 30th year. Stop saying that. Even though I wasn't 38, you're entering your 30th year because you start at 0, right? And then you go to 1 years old. And it's like, don't say that because now you're already saying that I'm 30. Stop it.
But and then now it'd be like, I'd love to go back to 30. I mean, my gosh. But
so would many of us anyway.
Well, no, I wouldn't want to be 30 again now. I'd like to go back to,
so you could enjoy
back to the 90s to be 30,
Enjoy the things you took for granted, yes.
Right, exactly.
Like Bennigan's mozzarella sticks, right?
Oh my God, I'd forgotten those.
One thing I'm not taking for granted from back when I was in my 20s is G4. Is this a pivot? Actually, let's finish up.
Let's.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you can pivot anytime you want. I'll just get it
pivot.
ready.
Just post the thing.
Just post the thing and let's get on to it.
Stupid thing.
Yeah.
I'll touch on Andor when we talk about Quantum Leap. Okay, all right. You gonna post it? There we go.
Did.
Look, you're very.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. It doesn't pop in StreamYard right away. But going into it before we do, the last couple weeks, Chris Gore has been chatting on his channel and on Midnight's Edge a little bit about it, because he used to write for the original G4, and so people are like asking him his thoughts on this, that, and the other, and he's like, well, without getting into the nitty gritty, I think G4 pretty much had already run its course. Now all the commentary that people want, they're getting from, YouTubers and, channels like Midnight's Edge and whatnot. We don't need G4 anymore. And they really don't need G4 when it's become what it has become. But why don't you tell us what it's become by going into the article?
Well, let's read the article. Okay, Comcast Spectacor division is pulling the plug on video game-centric network G4 TV, whose early incarnation in the 2000s remains a cultural touchstone for many millennials just a year after its relaunch. In a memo set to be sent out to all of its employees, Spectator CEO Dave Scott explained that the company's investment and efforts to revive the network just didn't gain traction. A few dozen employees and contract workers that are affected by the shutdown. Comcast said it will assist them with outplacement and consider some for internal opportunities. So basically shift around to other Comcast owned channels, I guess. The departure over the summer of Russell Aarons, an experienced digital media executive who came aboard as G4's president in 2021, was a precursor to today's news. Her duties were added to the portfolio of Joe Marsh, a Comcast Spectator vet who has seen CEO of T1 International Esports joint venture with Korea's SK Telecom. The current iteration of G4 is smaller and less focused on traditional linear TV than its predecessor. It has announced a programming slate including a revived version of the original G4 mainstay Attack of the Show, and X-Play, plus comedy-boosted Japanese competition series Ninja Warrior Esports Competitions and Dungeons & Dragons Limited Series. What was that one?
No
That
idea.
might have been up your alley, huh?
It might have been. No, I doubt it. I doubt it, given what I know about them.
Okay. Along with putting content on YouTube and social media, G4 has a multi-year agreement with Twitch and pay TV distribution deals with Verizon, Fios, Cox, Infinity, TV, and Philo. Several media and tech ventures centered around the gaming community have hit turbulence recently, with Facebook shutting down its gaming app and Google winding down gaming service Stadia. Then a startup billed as the quote-unquote MTV of video games also just went bust. G4's initial run began in 2002 under co-workers NBC Universal and Dish Network. The network was created by former Disney TV executive Charles Hirschhorn, who saw it as a successor to MTV and its potential to tap into youth culture. A number of notable personalities appeared as hosts on G4 in its early run, among them Olivia Munn, Chris Hardwick, Kevin Pereira, and Grace Helbig. After it went dark in 2014, G4's place on the dial was taken over by the Esquire network, which would prove to be a short-lived branding exercise amid a groundswell of enthusiasm on social media. New owner Comcast Spectacor revealed plans at Comic-Con's virtual 2022 edition of the network's return. What, do you want to say something?
No. It's just Matt Inouye brought up a great question. He said, "What was G4 exactly?" And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's probably something we should not assume everybody knows. But you have to understand the original G4 existed before. Didn't it exist pretty much before Twitch existed?
Yes, I'll explain what G4 was in a minute. And let's just say what it was now. G4 was a cable TV channel. It was what Tech TV used to be. Tech TV got changed into G4. I liked Tech TV. Tech TV was a technology-centered channel where it would talk about tech stuff, like computers.
Yeah.
And the show X-Play was on there. It was a video game-centered show. Later on, they figured, let's make an entire channel centered around video games, period. And that didn't work. Because I love video games, but most people will get their information online from websites or from short videos. They're not going to watch an entire channel simply dedicated to dedicated video games. And this was actually prior to esports becoming the big thing that it is now.
Right.
You had two big shows in there that lasted. Like there were other shows. Like one show was about doing cheat codes in games that didn't last. Eventually, it came down to Attack of the Show, which was
That was the one that Chris Gore worked on. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had Olivia Munn eating hot dogs in weird positions and mud bath. And then you had X-Play, which was a game review show, which had very obnoxiously written game reviews that got on my last nerve. And Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler, hosted that show. And eventually G4 went off the air because eventually it just became about those two shows and showing reruns of Cops and Cheaters. And that was it. You think I'm joking? That's what the channel was. You turn it on, it's another episode of Cops. It's another episode of Cheaters.
Well, it's kind of like the way the History Channel became all Ancient Aliens.
That's better than what G4 was. G4 was a trash network after a while. I don't have nostalgia for G4. Doesn't mean I hate everybody that worked there. Obviously, Chris Gore is fine, and I'm sure there were other good people there. And to be fair, before X-Play got stupid, I didn't have a problem with Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb. It just got dumber later.
I was just going to say that everything that I've heard, because I didn't watch G4 back in the day, but everything I've heard about G4 was that Attack of the Show was like the best thing about it. And it was
the only thing that was on the channel. That might be why.
It was raunchy, adolescent humor, but
basically like a Maxim magazine style channel.
Yeah,
that's how I would have explained it.
And that was a fine niche. Nowadays, you're not allowed to enjoy that kind of stuff, right? They're not allowed to make that kind of stuff.
Yes, and when people complain about not seeing the old people on the show, then you have a rabid, scary, young feminist type woman screaming at you, saying that Olivia Munn and Morgan Webb did not exist to be hot for you or something, and all this other stuff. But it's like, no, that's sort of why they were on.
That really is why the show existed. You dumbass. And I mean it. And it comes down, and everyone in the chat's basically saying exactly what we're thinking and what we were getting up to, and that's that once Twitch came along, you had people actually playing the games, and people do enjoy watching people play games. So you go to Twitch. You don't need a channel like G4 for that. You want criticism and reviews. That's what YouTube is for.
There's a ton of indie game journalists on YouTube. I watch plenty of them myself, and they're always talking about the latest stuff.
You want to see somebody play like really obscure games and do it badly intentionally and make fun of it as he does? Gray still plays. Check him out. He's a lot of fun too.
There you go. As a Toby, I watched G4, but I don't remember it being really popular or having high ratings. It served a specialized market. Yeah, it really didn't have a huge market. I mean, gamers would flip it on every so often, but let's be blunt. Half the time, people are flipping on Attack the Show to look at Olivia Munn. Okay,
and Auditor Dread's absolutely right that Frosk might not have solely caused the channel to get nuked, but she certainly didn't help. She expedited it in a big way. In fact, there were people coming back to it to say, hey, let's see if this is like the old G4. And they see this and they're like, fuck this, I'm out. I mean, look, it's really very simple. As soon as you go on a tirade and say, and if don't like it, don't watch it. Well, people ain't gonna. And this is what I'm saying about, so much of our pop culture. People are walking away from it. And once you say, well, I'm going to reboot it and it's going to be better than ever, too late. You've already lost the audience. You done fucked up.
New content coming to Deleted Scenes channel. Check it out. He is the Ace Wrench, right?
He is not only the Ace Wrench, he is invaluable. If he never dropped a link, and if he never did any moderating as a Blue Wrench, he would still be incredibly valuable in this chat because he's the one who knows what actor starred in what show. He knows the name of the film when we can't think of it, and he's just in there dropping those little factoids.
I used to know that stuff, then I started sniffing stuff from aerosol cans for kicks. And then, I'm sorry, wait, what? Did I say that loud on the air? Okay.
That cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Here's the full memo. You want to hear the memo, team? As you know, G4 was reintroduced last year to tap into the popularity of gaming. We invested to create the new G4 as an online and TV destination for fans to be entertained, be inspired, and connect with gaming content. For the past several months, we worked hard to generate that interest in G4, but viewership is low, and the network has not achieved sustainable financial results. This is certainly not what we hoped for, and as a result, we have made a very difficult decision to discontinue G4's operations effective immediately. I know this is disappointing news, and I'm disappointed too. I want to thank you and everyone at the G4 team for the hard work and commitment to the network. Okay, so, all right. I mean, I guess that's a good. And to be fair, I knew that Adam Sussler had said he gave a good shout-out call, for the end of the thing, and then he started getting into a fight with people on Twitter and got really nasty, and it was a mess. And it's like, I just don't care anymore. You're done. Some guy made a comment to him, says, "Oh yeah, I'm sure an aging middle-aged aged man who's just lost his girl will do well in this economy." Or so he made some nasty comment. Adam Sussler started making your mama jokes, or like your mom said, "I'm doing fine." It just turned to a whole big mess.
Well, I don't remember. It wasn't
don't
him.
Don't the trolls, but still, I don't like Adam Sussler, so it's like
it wasn't him directly, but someone who made a comment to him. I responded to that person saying, this is clearly someone with absolutely zero self-awareness. But, I'm sure he'll do just fine sitting on the couch and saying, pass me the crisps and the unemployment check.
I like the crisps. Okay. Anyway, what I actually did, that the guy that started up G4 again, like one of the major investors, was Olivia Munn's boyfriend at the time, and then she broke up with him, like right after the network started. So he kind of started it for her, and then she monkey branched to another guy.
Okay,
and that was like
so so what you've just told me was this might have been successful if Olivia Munn was still attached to it, but she wasn't, so it failed. So basically, So basically, it's the exact opposite of what Frost was saying. It really was about Olivia Munn and how, in quotes, bangable she was.
I don't know if that's the reason she wasn't on it as much as she would have been, or if it was a because I think it's just like the guy's motivation for bringing it back. The big investors fell apart when she broke up with him and went with another guy. I mean, I just heard
I kind of understand that. Yeah, you kind of lose your selling point there. That's just it. But anyway.
Moving on to more games things. Okay, why the Super Mario movie is bound to be a big success. Might have made more sense to do this as the first story, as you were suggesting I do.
I love that Big Al says, hi guys, just finished watching Kelly's Heroes. Olivia Munn. Yeah,
Oh,
there's my point, man. That's my point. So going back to the Frost thing, Frost absolutely had it backwards. It really was about how bangable Olivia Munn was.
It's terrible. And then they had Amaranth on there after the Frost rant.
I thought that was so funny. It's like she goes off on a rant and sexism and not here to be, pleasing on the eyes. Hey, look, there's Amaranth.
Did you hear about the recent Amaranth news, by the way?
Yeah, I have nothing to say about it.
It's
another one of those. I don't know these people personally. Whatever accusations they're making, especially nowadays with all these fake, stories and drama that people make up on YouTube as if it's real, like these dramas, and they play at it being real and stuff.
You never know. Yeah, it could be a bunch of Well, I'm not going to say it is or it isn't.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the fact that those things exist out there, I don't know what's real and not anymore. And, kind of like what's going on in people's lives that I just don't know. I kind of don't care. I hope she's not being abused. I hope these bad things aren't happening to her. But, I have no way of knowing. She needs to get help if she needs help.
On Thursday, gaming company Nintendo released a teaser trailer for the upcoming video game movie based on their iconic Super Mario franchise, known simply as the Super Mario Bros. Movie, during their online Nintendo Direct presentation. The trailer introduced the movie's visual style and elements of the plot. The trailer also revealed the voices of the main characters. Mario himself will be voiced by Chris Pratt, while his chief nemesis Bowser will be voiced by Jack Black. The trailer also introduced the side characters Toad and K-Mac, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key and K-Mac respectively. Are Toad and K-Mac voiced by the same actor? Okay, that's interesting. Other cast members who were not spotlighted in the trailer include Charlie Day, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Seth Rogen, who are due to voice the characters of Luigi, Princess Peach, and Donkey Kong, respectively. When Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto first announced the cast of the film during a Nintendo Direct on September 23rd, 2021, heavy criticism was directed toward the celebrity casting of the actors, specifically Chris Pratt's Mario. Many Nintendo fans wondered why Pratt's American accent was chosen for the Italian plumber, especially since Charles Martinet, the voice actor who'd portrayed the character in video games since 1992, is still actively voicing Mario. Before the teaser came out, there was also worry by the fandom over Nintendo's decision to leave the movie to the hands of Illumination, the same animation studio that is responsible for Despicable Me and the Secret Life of Pets franchises. In the teaser, some fans' complaints were seemingly addressed. However, for example, the teaser makes it possible to hear Pratt's attempt to make a soft Brooklyn accent for the character. While the accent is a far cry from Martinet's portrayal as a plumber with a thick Italian accent, Pratt's accent does work well with the origins of the character. When Mario was first introduced as a protagonist in the hit 1981 arcade classic Donkey Kong, Mario was, according to the game, an Italian carpenter living in New York. By the time the first Super Mario Bros. Game was released in 1985, his profession had switched to plumbing, and arguably the most famous video game character was born. Among other fan complaints over the mere existence of the Super Mario Bros. Movie is its status as a quote-unquote video game movie. Ever since the first video game movies began to be made in the early 1990s, films based on video games have carried a reputation for having low qualities of stories and acting as their stories and characters often derive greatly from their source material. In fact, one of the first video game movies released in 1993 was Super Mario Brothers, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as Mario and Luigi. Respectively, the movie was a critical commercial failure, bombing at the box office and allegedly cursing the success of all future video game movies. Up until 2019, no movies based on video games got a fresh rating. Since then, only 3 video game movies have Detective Pikachu, The Angry Birds Movie 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog. I have a question. The Angry Birds Movie 2, I didn't know there was a sequel. And why did they not like the first one? I thought the first Angry Birds movie was actually pretty good, considering it was based on
I actually didn't follow that at all, but, look, okay. I mean, it's, and I think this is a misattribution, right? I mean, I think Hollywood tends to take the wrong lessons from some of these things. Just because the Bob Hoskins Mario Brothers film didn't do well doesn't mean that people don't want movies about game properties. It means they want good movies about game properties.
I've argued that video game movies share the position that comic book movies had ages ago, when maybe a comic book movie was made into a disastrous movie,
Right.
Based on a superhero property, and now it's,
I don't care what movie you're making, you have to understand the story you're telling, okay? And if you don't, you shouldn't touch it. If you don't understand why a video game, why a comic book is popular and what the fans like about it, it's not going to get into your movie and they won't like it. This isn't rocket science here.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I actually did like the Bob Hoskins film.
I saw it in the theater when it came out, because that was when I was becoming a young Nintendo fan. I had the Super Nintendo at that point. So I was, and I didn't hate it.
I saw it as like Big Al would say, so bad it's good, or bad in all the good ways. Matt says they want them to not suck. I agree. You're absolutely right.
It's funny because it had Dennis Hopper as Bowser in it, remember? He was the King Koopa.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah.
That's who he was in that. He was supposed to be, and I think the idea was he was using a de-evolution machine, and like it was used on him, he turned into the actual dinosaur. Maybe that's where I got the whole thing about Bowser being a dinosaur. Maybe it was cemented because of that movie.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Whatever.
I saw the trailer as part of the homework, and I liked it.
Yes, Troy actually did watch the trailer. Did it look like the same quality as like a Despicable Me type movie, or because that's like Illumination's other things?
Okay, so full disclosure, and I know you probably told me this before, and I had just forgotten or wasn't keyed in or whatever. I honestly thought this was going to be a live action film. So I thought Chris Pratt would be playing a live action Mario. So when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, this makes a whole lot more sense, so I was already, I was already on a positive note there.
There's all kinds of fake trailers online with like actual Chris Pratt in the Mario outfit, like, like with that Spider-Man thing I sent you, like where they
yeah. It's very good the way some of those, these YouTubers are talented with the editing, let me tell you.
Can you imagine, like, they do scenes from Jurassic World, but they make the raptors up to look like
Goombas or something like that,
or like Koopa Troopers or something, and he's playing them, and it's like all dark and realistic, and it's like Bowser's invading the Earth.
But I'll be honest, what I saw of it, and again, I didn't have the context, so I'm like, they could be completely screwing the canon of stories or whatever. I wouldn't have known. But from the point of view of someone that might take his kids to see a movie like this or something, I'm like, this looks pretty good. Yeah, and then, like you were saying, I hear Chris Pratt's voice, and I'm like, he doesn't go for a thick, stereotypical, Lamborghini, Italian, but it's a little subtle, and I'm like, okay, I could totally see me doing that voice, so I'm fine with Chris Pratt doing that. Sure.
I think it can be good. Jack Black as Enthusiasm Bowser. I actually did like, You have to understand, in the video games, Bowser speaks, but he doesn't speak English. He has growls and things, and like they subtitle it underneath him. Do you understand? Whenever he
Oh,
talks.
okay, yeah.
But in this one, actually, I'm speaking like English for the first time, but I thought it worked, and I liked
Would
his.
be funnier if they had him speaking Japanese and it was written underneath.
I'm sure there's gonna be a Japanese dub of this. Actually, it'd be funny if Yoshi spoke Japanese. I don't know if Yoshi's gonna be in this movie though. That's probably for a sequel.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in today's Hollywood, I don't think they're going to have him do the accent. Well, I'm sorry, Matanui. Obviously, you were not privy to the wonder that was the House of Gucci. The House of Gucci is filled to the brim with those horrible, like bad, like Hollywood Italian accents, and I'm like, what were they thinking? Jeremy, you want to hear Jeremy Irons and Lady Gaga doing these bad Italian accents?
I can imagine. Look, Lady Gaga is Italian.
No, Al Pacino's Italian too. He's in it. Jared Leto is in it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I cannot. I can wince at a bad accent. Okay, like Dick Van Dyke, right, doing Cockney. Okay, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get bent out of shape about it or get offended by it. I mean, whatever.
Here's the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, right? Takes place in Chernobyl, Russia, or
Sure.
Ukraine. Okay. Anyway, all the actors they use, they're not putting on these Eastern European Russian accents. They're just having them speak with their regular voices. So Jared Harris or Stellan Skarsgård are just talking. Jared Harris with his English accent. I guess Stellan Skarsgård. What is he, Swedish? Like a Swedish accent. They're not having them learn these Russian accents because let's face facts. People in Russia or people in Italy are not going to be speaking English with accents with as we see an Italian accent. They're going to be
right.
So stop having the actors do the accent. I don't have a problem with them using English speakers in these roles, but just stop having them do these. Stop having these Italian accents, these bad Italian accents. It's so.
What was
Adam
the movie?
Driver? Oh, was in it too. It's so bad.
What was the movie? Was it Hunt for Red October? That starts out with everyone speaking Russian, and then it just morphs into them speaking English, and they speak English the rest of the movie.
See, that's not bad though. Actually,
yeah.
Is it? I mean, that's yeah. See,
and
okay.
Didn't they do the same thing with Valkyrie, where they start out speaking German and it morphs into English, and then it's just English through the rest of the movie? I like that. That makes sense to me.
I'm not interested in the House of Gucci. Oh, it's. Watch that with a double feature with Morbius, and you'll be having a good time.
It's Morbin time.
Oh, you saw that clip I sent you, right? Like,
yeah.
When everybody was attacking Morbius and like ridiculing it, I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then I'm like, oh wow, this is.
That's a shame because part of me was really kind of hoping it would be good.
You may have a different reaction. You may like it if you get Netflix. It's on there. Okay, but I know you probably don't get Netflix anyway.
I've got a long list, so I can add it to the list. That doesn't mean I'm going to get to it anytime soon.
I don't know. I think the trailer looked good. I'm still going to wait and see. I know that Nintendo, if they probably have final say on everything in that movie. It's like J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter things. I think that
I hope so. I hope that's the case.
They're very strict because they already were angry. They were very angry about that last Mario Brothers movie. So I think if Universal wants to hop on, they have to play ball. I mean, the creators are probably allowed some creative freedom, but Nintendo has to have final approval on whatever's put in there. But for the most part, though, I liked Jack Black as Bowser. I thought that worked, and I liked how he said, "Do you yield?" And he says, "I do not." Just that's something Bowser would do, and he just torches the whole ice castle. It's. I don't know. I mean, the kid in me is looking forward to this, and I say kid, really mean present boomer because he still likes Mario. So I'm hoping it'll be good. It actually is going to premiere April 7th, 2023 in the U.S. and will be available to stream on Peacock 45 days after. So if you don't feel like seeing the movies, you can catch it on Peacock 45 days after. So if you get Peacock.
That's just one step above the day and date thing. Oh, 45 days? I'll just wait till it comes out.
Does Morbius say it's morbing time? I like to think he did. I don't think he did, but maybe they're saving the
He
sequel.
didn't. No, apparently not. There's a whole meme
Oh,
about it.
please. You get to see Matt Smith's dance in Morbius. This is where we
I actually like Matt Smith's dance in Doctor Who way more.
you get to see a nice shirtless Matt Smith doing the dance and putting on his suit and doing this sharp thing.
Okay.
You notice how it's not some young starlet you get to see doing the sexy dance anymore in the movies. It has to be Matt Smith because that's where we are in our culture. It has to be Matt Smith.
I guess.
It's so
I
bad.
guess.
He should have been doing it to that chocolate song from that stupid commercial I've seen. I've cast a check. Now I'm going to, spend it all on chocolate. Then I find out it was a hip hop song later on. But anyway, okay. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's Morbin time. It's so. Okay, what are we talking about? Quantum Leap. Let's move on, huh? Last article.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me. I didn't. I actually put this one into the notes, so I actually have to go and grab.
I'm low energy. Link. I'm low energy. I'm like Jeb Bush. It's not good. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. What? No. Sorry.
This one should not come as a very big surprise for anyone who has been following Fresh Baked Nerd Cookies, who has been giving us all the scoops about Quantum Leap's reboot leading up to it actually being released.
We live in the world with the She-Hulk twerk. Yes, they should just do. You know what they should do? Someone should just do a clip of all the bad dance scenes in movies of the past year. You could have the Matt Smith dance. You could have the She-Hulk twerk. You could have that woman for that Resident Evil show with the.
And this is what actually made me think of it. There's a scene that I've seen over and over of She-Hulk, where I guess there's a scene where she's leaping and she's coming down as if she's going to land on the camera with, the bare foot and everything. And I'm like, that's what made me think of the whole Lady Dimitrescu thing. I was like, you could be, capitalizing on the foot fetishists and the, big giant woman fetishists.
Yeah,
and,
man.
You're really missing out. But if for that to work, though, it's got to look more like a real person and not like, a bad Sims 2 type of graphic.
It's so bad. Okay. Okay. Why am I in Comcast again? Did I click the wrong link? Hold on. Where am I? Okay, I'm talking about... Okay, Quantum Leap reboot. Only 5 episodes in, NBC's Quantum Leap reboot is on its way to be on the chopping block, according to a predictor table set up by Spoiler TV. Unfortunately, this isn't the most surprising news for the science fiction series. At the end of September, the numbers revealed viewership between the revival's first and second episodes dropped by roughly 500,000 viewers. The table seems based solely on Nielsen Television Index, where the Quantum Leap reboot rates a dismal 4.25. That places it in the table's yellow range, meaning it's in danger of being canceled. It drops 3.9. That will put it in the red zone of likely to be canceled. Right now, the series Spoiler TV puts in the red include Walker Independence, CSI Vegas, and Big Sky. I'm a little upset about CSI Vegas because I've been watching that, but oh well. CSI, the new CSI show.
Yeah.
Where they have old like each season they have a classic character from the old show up for the season to help out the new team, and they get along with the new team, and it's not like they're trying to shame the old characters and humiliate them. They actually treat them with respect. Who'd have think you could do that, right?
Imagine, yeah.
Okay, is Big Sky, was that Scott Bakula Western series that he was going to be on?
I know he was going to be in something. I don't remember.
I don't know
Maybe it was. I don't know.
As of right now, things definitely look bad for the revival series, regardless of what Spoiler TV has to say. As folks who are professionally obligated to regularly check ratings on the site, we can safely say it is rare for critics and fans to be as unanimously agreed on a show being bad as they seem to be in regards to Quantum Leap reboot on Rotten Tomatoes. The site's Tomatometer, i.e. the critics rating, has the revival at 53%, while the fan rating is just a bit lower at 50%. So what does that mean? It's not very good. That's the consensus by everybody.
Yeah, it's pretty much everyone is in agreement that it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Okay, according to the reviews, the biggest problem the show has is that it lacks something vital. The word fun pops up in a lot of reviews for the Quantum Leap reboot, as in the writers are pointing out how little bit of it is apparently in the show, while its predecessor certainly had its serious moments, both in terms of the plot and the back and forth between Sam Beckett and his handler Al. There was definitely plenty of fun to be had. Let's face facts, even the theme song of the old Quantum Leap was fun, right?
Yeah. Da 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 da. Yeah, and you know, Matanui is saying, I have never seen Quantum Leap, and those ads did not give me much reason to want to go see this one. You know, and this is something that I was talking about with Geek Talk on Friday, is this whole idea that nostalgia is not bad, but if you want to pass something on to the next generation, you've got to be able to hold on to the old generation so that they can bring in the new generation, right? Yes. And if you don't appeal to the Scott Bakula fans, they're not going to respond to Raymond Lee, you know? And we previously had reported on and actually Nerd Cookies, in a much more beautiful voice, reported on this much more succinctly, that Scott Bakula had eventually gone to social media to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be involved in this new project. I hope for their sake it goes well, and I wish him luck. And that was kind of a death knell to Quantum Leap as far as previous fans were concerned. If Scott Bakula's story isn't being continued, if he's not even an option to be a part of it. Now, I understand if he's still out there somewhere and part of the whole shtick is looking for him. But if Scott Bakula, the actor, has been told, I am not involved in this now going forward, I reached out to them, I was open to it, nothing's happening with it, that's a rejection. That's a rejection of Scott Bakula. That's a rejection of Sam Beckett, the character. And that's a rejection of all the fans who made this be something worth rebooting in the first place.
I don't know. Maybe it'll reveal that Sam Beckett's the villain on this show, and they'll have a different actor playing him, and he's been ruining lives in the past.
And I'll tell you something else. When I saw the first trailer for this, and again, anyone who didn't see Quantum Leap, you know, back in the day, wouldn't know. But there was this running joke throughout the series that every time Sam would leap, you know, into another life, into another body, you'd get the reveal at the end. It was like the little stinger, right? He whatever he did in this storyline is resolved. He leaps, yes, and then you see him leap into the next body. And he'd look into a mirror and see that he was a woman or a black man or, you know, something like that. And he'd look and he'd go, oh, boy, you know.
Or some guy in the room during the Cuban Missile Crisis or something like that.
Right, exactly. And you'd laugh, right? Well,
the best one is when he jumped into an autistic boy.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, and sometimes they weren't funny. Sometimes they were very serious like that, where, yeah, he experienced life as an autistic boy. Like I said, leaping into a black man during segregation. Look, you know, what we call woke today, you know, was good progressive back then, you know, and done well without pissing everybody off. But anyway, what I was leading up to is when I saw the first preview for this one, he leaps and instead he goes, oh, shh, implying he says, oh, shit. And I'm sorry, you've literally just shit all over my nostalgia. Get the hell out of here.
All right, let's see. They did that.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I just saw related articles. So a previous Scott Bakula on whether he'll be part of the new Quantum Leap.
Listen to me. It'll be determined that the evil leaper was Sam Beckett all along in disguise, because that's.
Well, apparently it's not even going to get that far. It really is not looking good for a second season.
They'll have Will Wheaton play evil Sam Beckett.
That would actually be good casting, yeah.
Okay. I don't know though. The word fun pops up in a lot of reviews, and I'm thinking that's a problem with a lot of modern popular culture. Is it fun? Are we having fun? I mean, as everything's falling apart in the world, we need some escape.
Maybe these people don't even understand what the word fun is, okay? You're in the entertainment industry. You need to entertain. Okay? Who do you need to entertain? Not yourselves, the viewers. They are not entertained by being told that they're ists and phobes and they need to get with the times, accept the changes that you're making. Yeah. That's all there is to it.
Big Sky though. What is that? Let's Google that real quick. What you got going on this week?
What do I got going on this week? I've got a couple of toy videos that I'm hoping to get out this week before the big retro blasting interview on Friday. So I'm hoping to. I don't think I'm going to get a video a day out, but I'm going to try to get at least 2 or 3 videos out this week.
Okay, cool. And they'll be on what kind of toys?
Well, I just dropped today a video about a droid haul that I did, a specific model of R2 vintage collection droid that I do not like, and I don't like that it's being used on so many, the same mold is being used on so many other R2 units, and that's leading into the next video that I'm going to do, which is a review of the Antok Merrick X-Wing fighter and his droid happens to be that same model, that same sculpt. So I'll be talking about that in an upcoming video. And I've also got a video that I'm hoping to get out by Friday that is going to be showcasing my custom Star Wars holiday special figures.
Right, yeah. Keep an eye out for that one. That'll be fun when you see it. Okay. And then Friday, of course, I don't know if you already mentioned this, but you have
retro blasting.
And retro blasting.
Just like every video that I do, or every live stream that I do, I don't know where it's going to go. I know that Retro Blasting is one of my favorite YouTubers, that he does great content about 80s pop culture, nostalgia, and toys in particular, and cartoons and whatnot. But who knows if that's what we're actually going to talk about. Maybe we'll talk about being married in fandom or what it's like being a YouTuber. And I don't know. It'll be a lot of fun.
Cool. And Wednesday, I should be on there with you on Friday, providing my tooth isn't killing me after it gets removed. But
hey, you got everything going on. You got the house, you got the hurricane, you got the
This is a bad year. I've come to this conclusion that 2022 is a wash for me. I want it to end.
It's been a wash, literally.
Funny man. Wednesday I will be on with soundtracks with Birdman.
We're kind of working backwards here, so I know that. But there's a Batman stream on Monday, right?
No, Tuesday, Mr. Master is having a Gotham Knights First Impression stream, where he will be playing the game and discussing it and other topics. So yeah, cool.
Perfect.
Tune in for that. I'm trying to think what else I'll be up to. Yeah, Wednesday,
soundtracks with Birdman. Yeah,
it'll be my long-awaited return to soundtracks with Birdman, and I will be covering the Steven Spielberg War of the Worlds movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
good for Halloween. Big album.
And I'm sorry, I completely forgot on Friday. I'm so focused on Michael French that I forgot that I'm also going to be doing a big giveaway for people that tune in live on Friday, and I'll be announcing those details this week in my community tab. So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. Okay.
Which in fact one of the things I'm giving away ties directly to the rewatch on Netter's Network on Saturday, where she will be seeing for the first time, as far as we know, the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh.
Yeah.
The original one. When will that be?
That's Saturday? This Saturday on Netter's Network. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds
Right?
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Does Boomer want to join us?
Do you want to join us?
I can't make any promises, but we'll see. Okay.
Okay. There you
Like I
go.
said, my scheduling is rather weird lately. But if I am
I'll send
available,
you
I
an
will.
invite.
Yeah, we'll send you the invite, and
Let
if you
me
can't
invite-
make it, you can't make it.
Gotcha. It's funny though. What was I gonna say though? I forgot now. Tuesday Gotham Knights discussion, and I'm trying to think. Oh, I was gonna say that I'm gonna have my own giveaway on this channel next
Oh.
weekend.
Nice,
And,
nice.
some nice Tomb Raider comics that may have mold growing on them, but and you just have to donate to be in the running. Just donate $20 in the till. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Made a joke about giving away
I
my
felt
mold
so
card.
bad when I heard about some of your comics getting ruined, but that also falls under what did you learn? Pack them up in plastic bins, put them at least a foot above the ground, put them up on plastic
They were
milk
on
crates
the
if you have
bookshelf
to.
so I could take them off and read them. And they were on the bottom bookshelf because it was weight for the shelf. You don't want to have heavy stuff on top of a bookshelf. Whatever. What did we learn?
Okay, so most bookshelves, if you look at the top, they've got a mounting hook so that you can screw it into the wall.
Well,
Then
there
you don't have to
go.
worry about whether it's top heavy or not.
That's something to think about. Anyway,
So what did you learn? There, you learned that too.
What I learned
so-
is I can't have nice things. It's funny because Retro Blasting was having a conversation with a gentleman about Tomb Raider. Recently.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's absolutely true.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on Lara Croft. We'll have news on that at some point. I'm waiting to see if the rumors I've read are going to turn out to be true.
She's going to become a lesbian. She's going to be
yes.
dark skinned. She's going to be what?
One of the rumors I heard was her entering into a relationship with a woman, and also the future game was not going to be about Lara Croft, but it was going to be about a team of Tomb Raiders she has working for her, which makes no sense because why am I playing a Lara Croft game if I can't play as Lara Croft? And why are they changing her sexual orientation? And
Look,
why?
you don't take a video game that may or may not have had private mods added to it, and then make a movie about the stories that come out of those mods.
I'm telling you, the fans are making the best stuff.
Yep.
You're like Aged Boomer. I collect mold. Yes, spores, molds, and fungus. Yes.
Spores, molds, and fungus is very good. Absolutely. Good on you, mate. Yep.
Which comics did I lose? It was the recent hardcover Tomb Raider comics they put out when they were reprints of the old Top Cow comics from the 90s. The ones that were put out, I think, by the Witchblade comics. Then, no, I mean, what can you do? You can't hold on to everything. It's actually a reminder that we can't take it with us, can we? Eventually, we will either lose the stuff in our life or we'll depart this planet without the stuff we accumulated. So,
Speak for yourself. I intend to live forever or die trying.
He promised.
You're gonna have a pharaoh. You're gonna have a pharaoh style tomb with all your physical media. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And anyone who can get through all the traps gets to keep the DVDs. There you go.
Is someone gonna pull your brain out through your nose and put it in a ceramic jar?
You know, the problem
Egyptians
is
did that.
they're going to be digging around through my nose, and they're going to go, "It's hollow in there." Did someone already get his brain?
How did the Egyptians do the stuff they did, huh?
With a hook, a long hook that they.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
I was saying, I know.
It's archaeology. Okay, Netter, I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
I mean, this happened thousands of years ago, so I mean, it's not like. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all have a good week, and we will
Absolutely.
catch you next time. And yeah, we'll be getting close to Halloween next week, and we'll try to find some horror news or something. We'll do a Halloween thing, good old days. I'll have to think of something. All right.
Ooh, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Catch y'all later. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.